So we're live. Episode, I don't know what episode this will be, honestly.
Oh,
but,
shoot.
Let me think. I think this is the 6th recording with Alvin. Good to have you on.
Happy to be here, man. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me over.
Yeah.
We just got a phenomenal lift in. That was short, sweet, and deadly.
Yeah.
I want to start this off by saying thank you for your service. And we'll get into a little bit of your story, but I just want to thank you for your service to this country and the sacrifice that you've made, allowing me to be able to do the dumb shit that I do. So I appreciate you.
Right. And there are many guys who have made sacrifices greater than mine, right? So,
Yeah. And thank them as well.
Yep.
So I don't know if I want to get into your story briefly or how we met. Let's do that after. I'll tell how we met after.
Yeah,
but if you want to just do a brief overview of your story.
Okay. Yeah, right on. So I'm originally from Ewa Beach, Hawaii. It's where I grew up, went to high school, graduated out of there, and that's where I left for basic training, basically. So my family situation, got a mom, stepdad's in the picture, great dude, raised me my entire life. Love the guy. Can't say enough good things about him.
That's awesome.
But I have one sister. So I was joined the Air Force right out of high school, like I said. Was at Special Operations Command up there at Herbert Field for majority of my enlistment. Just did 6 years, and then shortly after rolled right into government contracting.
Right on.
Yeah.
It's awesome. So that brings you to mid to upper 20s?
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah.
That's so cool. We spoke about it briefly in our initial meeting, but just the military culture, specifically high-level military culture, is just so fascinating to me. The warrior mindset, the warrior culture, and the fact that dudes in the U.S. military nowadays are the most elite human beings that have ever lived.
Right.
Like, ever.
Yeah.
In terms of lethality, in terms of capability.
And 100%. And I totally feel like being surrounded in that community was exactly what a man needs to see to grow, right?
Yeah.
And so in the support capacity, like being direct support for all the guys on the ground, like you see men amongst men, like monsters of men, dude, and like that's who you strive to become.
Sure.
Like that, those you kind of look up to those guys as role models, and you're like, well, this is who I need to be.
Yeah.
You know, and so going into that, growing up, I was like, I said my stepfather was a great guy, you know, but he worked his ass off. So I never really fostered a emotional relationship with him.
Yeah.
You know, all he taught me was to work your ass off, and that's all I knew.
Yeah.
You know, he was out of sight, out of mind, but I knew when he was gone, he was providing for the family.
Yep.
So great lesson to be learned there, but in the same context, it's like, you know, I didn't really know how to build myself as a man beyond that, you know? So the few like stereotypical things that you see are like, you know, like the builder guys, right? Like Bob the Builder type dudes. Or,
Hey, I was Bob the Builder 2 years in a row when I was 4 and 5 for Halloween.
Hey, yeah, good. But like, and then the other side is like, how do you actually become a man in today's society, right? And you watch movies, you see movies about warriors, you see movies about special operators and special forces and whatnot, and you're like, those are men. Those are dudes. Those are real dudes, you know? So when I joined the Air Force, I signed on open contract because I was waiting to go as a combat controller or TAC P.
What does open contract mean?
Open contracts means at the drop of a hat, the recruiter hits you up and is like, hey, we have this available. Can you leave tomorrow? Oh,
cool.
Yeah, so I took that because all my friends went off to college. I was sitting around. I was a server, you know, still in Hawaii, and like all my friends' parents are like,
no, you're all right.
All my friends' parents are like, oh,
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers. And this is mocha, you said?
It's from a mocha pot.
Mocha pot?
Yeah, so you just make it on the stove. Is it with ghee butter today?
Wow. That's delicious. That's delicious. I'm a big ghee butter fan.
Yeah, dude.
Especially, I got that from Laird Hamilton. We can talk about that later, but he puts a ton of that stuff in his coffee. But continue, sorry, open contract?
Yeah, so open contract, I was waiting around to go do something else more exciting, right? Because like I said, you see the movies, you see everything, and you want to be the best man you can be, right? So I signed open contract. once you get to the recruiter's office, you're going to hear this story so many times the more and more you talk to military guys. But like, you get to the recruiter's office and they tell you like, oh, you can switch jobs whenever you want to, you know, like, oh, it's easy. Like right after basic training, just raise your hand and let them know like you don't want to do your job. And I was like, sick, you know. So sitting there, I'm signing the contract. Yeah, I'm signing the contract. First form she passes me, she's like, hey, here's a polygraph form. And I was like, what's a polygraph? And she's like, oh, it's a lie detector test. You'll be fine. And I was like,
What are you talking about?
what, you know, what type of stuff am I doing? And so she's like, she says some stuff. She mentions the job as airborne IRS operator. Yeah. And I was like, IRS? Like, I'm going to do taxes in the sky? You know? So I'm like, okay, I have no clue, you know? So I ship off to basic training. Yeah. I go, I'm getting pulled out every 2 weeks to go do some, like, side quest, like, interview. Yeah. And they're like, oh, how many drugs you do? Like, we know you do drugs. We know you do that. We know you do this. And you're like,
what's going on?
What is this? You know?
Just wanted to be an accountant.
Yeah. I'm just here to do taxes. You know? And then like everyone's asking questions to like your MTI, and they're like, dude, I have no idea what you do. Yeah. And I'm like, I have no idea what I'm about to do either. You know? So and then you just get pushed through basic, and so I get to my first like tech school. Is the first training block that you have, and you still don't know.
Really?
So you kind of just drudge through this process.
Oh, like, so that's the open contract. That's how.
No. So the open contract happens like they just call you and they're like, hey, we have this job available.
Oh, okay,
can you leave?
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. And so it's typically a job that you qualify for your ASVAB, but it's not on your list, or you know, no one else qualifies for it, so they just throw you in it. Yeah.
That's awesome. You mentioned your stepfather a little bit and just working hard. What was the impetus for you to go in the military? Did you always want to be in the military? Did you one of your friends, one of your family members, or what was that about?
So my stepfather was medically discharged from the Army. Okay. I think he was some type of helicopter mechanic or something like that. Cool. He didn't really talk to me about it, but I guess he ended up dropping something super heavy on his leg, broke his leg completely. I mean, he's completely rehabilitated now, like, you know, but yeah, he was medically discharged, and then we ended up in Hawaii after that. Cool. So what he used to change jobs almost every year, and it seemed like it was on my birthday. Every year he would have a new job, you know, and he would just be constantly hustling, you know, and like, it's not something I really put too much thought into, the fact that he was my stepfather, you know, and like, he didn't have to be there. Yeah. You know? Very true. Because who wants to raise someone else's kid? Yeah. Right? Not too many men will step up to the plate and do that, let alone raise their own kids. Sure. You know, so like I said, love the dude to death, and I can't appreciate him any more than I do right now.
Okay, I just want to make sure. That's a valiant effort, in my opinion. Right. Being in that situation, because like you mentioned, that's a whole different dynamic that I don't think we're necessarily physiologically and psychologically wired for inherently, being a stepfather. Yeah. So that's awesome, and it's really cool to hear you talk about him that way. Right. Hawaii, how was it growing up in Hawaii? One of my good friends from Virginia Tech and former teammates from Hawaii. I've been there once. He's like the chillest dude I've ever met. Just such a cool guy. Yeah. And he loved growing up there, it seemed like. So what was it like growing up in an environment like that?
Dude, it was sick, you know. It simply put, right? Yeah, it was sick. What can I say about it? It's like, so I guess the dynamic's a little bit weird. Not weird, I think it's natural, because the locals there, they're so fed up, like with generations. Yeah, well, disrespectful ones at that, right? And that's anywhere, right? Yeah. You act like a jackass, you get treated like a jackass anywhere you go. Yep. But they've been through generations of just straight up atrocities. Yeah. And still to this day. Sure. You know, like, I'm not going to be, you know, on my soapbox or anything, but like, for them, like, their land has been stolen. Yep. You know, so it's a different dynamic for anyone who isn't local. Yeah. Or doesn't respect the land at all. And for me growing up, though, it was it was cool because
Yeah.
you know I'm mixed, so I'm black and Japanese.
Yeah.
So I kind of looked the part a little bit.
Sure.
You know,
Yeah.
made some amazing friends. Primarily I was raised essentially by a second family too. So yeah, super sick. But that story is a little bit heartbreaking for me because the family that I was raised with, like secondhandly almost, was my best friend. We met in kindergarten.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, so we were friends like our entire lives,
Yep.
and then senior year he passed away, like some tragic
Yeah.
kayaking incident, and
Dang. I'm sorry to
that's
hear that.
it's kind of when I lost my faith
Yeah.
initially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, that's a pretty impactful, something like that to happen at such a young age, essentially like your brother, it sounds like.
Right. Yeah.
That's pretty impactful. The thing about Hawaii, I want to mention on that, I listened to a podcast called History Doesn't Suck or something like that, about the Hawaiian, just the way that Americans, more or less, just white Americans, raped that land and that country, and the way that they manipulated the government there, the people that were living there, and then to speak on it lightly, it was a really, really atrocious thing for human beings to do, and it definitely taints that. And my buddy used to tell me, he's like Howleys, obviously he'd call white people Howleys, but it's one of those things that if you respect the culture and the land, and are not one of those people that's just trying to take, but you're trying to give to a community, I'm sure that there's a different reception and perception.
Right. And like you said, dude, like some of the most chillest, nicest, most respectful people, the culture is just different, right?
Yeah.
It's all family based, and it's giving back to the land. So it's, you know, making a place better than you found it every single time. And that's a lesson that's been fostered in me, right? So it's like moving to this property, dude, it was a piece of junk.
Yeah.
You know, like everything was all sand, and they left a bunch of projects outside and everything, you know.
It's cool now.
Yeah. We're trying to make everything living, you know. So, I mean, we implement bees, and we're trying to get our chickens.
Yeah.
But
Well, that's a good way to segue into how we met, which I think is
perfect.
You could call it whatever you want. I call it God and providence. And I think it was my second day. No, that was my first day.
Right.
That was my first day living in Tampa. I just got a solar sales job, and I literally, the first door I knocked was the one on the corner of the dirty land over there.
Okay.
First door I ever knocked.
Yeah.
And then like 20 doors later, I see this truck. I'm like, oh, this guy, like, I can like kind of perceive who I'm about to interact with. I'm like, oh, we'll see. He might not be too receptive.
Yeah.
I knock on the door. The Ring doorbell goes off. We have a conversation over Ring. Yeah. Long story short, you tell me to come back. And what happens is two days later, I'm back in this area. And I don't know if I told you this. I was very close to not knocking the second time.
Yeah.
I just like, dude, he didn't seem that interested. I don't want to bother him and his family. Yeah, whatever. And then I saw the truck was home. I was like, what's the worst that could happen? I knock, and then an hour and a half later, I leave with like your phone number, your Instagram. We're like setting up lift times, and it was just an incredible experience, really. And I don't think you can call it whatever you want, but you can't call it a coincidence. I don't think that there's any way, shape, or form that that's a coincidence that we had that conversation and hit it off like that. It was really, really cool, frankly, and I'm very glad that it happened. And here we are now, a month and a half later. But basically, what's going on is you got a wife and a son. Yeah, you're out here living y'all's best life, making this property into some. I mean, I just took an outdoor shower. Yeah, first one ever in the States, at least. Right. Took one relatively recently, out of the country. But yeah, run me down on like what's going on here. Like how did this come about? Like the whole lifestyle that y'all are living.
So the easiest way to put it, right? It all started with mindset. And the first introduction to all of this was Linda giving birth at a birthing center opposed to a hospital. So, and this opened up like our mind to a world that no one really talks about, right? Like your peers aren't really talking about the awesome experience that we just had at a birthing center.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what you don't know, and people just assume hospitals are the only place that women give birth at,
Yeah.
right? So when that realm opened, it was like, okay, now we prepare to bring this little human into this world. What do we need? And it's crazy because the first thing I started looking into was, okay, you know, because I like researching, and I'm just like, oh, what are the best, you know, X, Y, and Z? What are the best soaps for babies?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, why is there baby soap?
Yeah. And
You know,
Yeah.
why can't they use my soap? And that was the mindset that shifted. You start questioning everything.
Was that actually the first thing?
It was the first thing.
That's crazy.
And I was like, why is there baby
Yeah,
soap?
yeah.
You know, so you start looking into it, and it's like, okay, phthalates, parabens, all this shit, toxins,
Yeah.
fragrances is like a list of how many toxins, right? And I'm like, so if my baby can't use my soap, why am I using my soap? And then it's laundry detergent. You're like, okay, so all of this stuff is so toxic, and you're just like, what can I do better?
Yeah.
You know, because we're in a very blessed situation, right? Being born in America, I'm very grateful. We're lucky. It's absolute luck that we popped up on this country, right? To have the freedom of choice, first of all. Like, we're able to look up why things are toxic. Yeah, I mean, it's terrible that a lot of things are toxic, but we have the choice not to choose them.
Sure.
Right? And I think that's great. But that was the first introduction into a more natural way of living.
Yeah.
So it was honestly such a deep rabbit hole that we still look into today.
Yeah.
You know?
It's in my previous episode with the holistic doctor, he talks
Uh-huh.
about you have to continually learn.
Right.
And do you know what he let me in on this? Do you know what the word that doctor stems from meant?
No.
Teacher.
Okay.
And he's like, you have to be your own doctor.
Mm-hmm.
You have to learn. You have to learn and learn and learn and learn. And I feel like the way that y'all are going, you're going to be 70 years old and still learning. 'Cause
Well,
you're
and that's why they call it a practice, right?
exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So, quick little backstory into like the pediatrician we went to, or this was the third pediatrician we ended up with.
Yeah.
I remember telling you in the gym, and I was like, his name was something, right? Quote unquote. And when we get there, dude shows up. He's you know, overweight, looks uncomfortable, and I'm like, all
Check
right,
one.
yeah, you know, like red flags just pop it up and stuff, and he starts talking. The one thing I do give him credit for was, you know, his giving us the option to vaccinate or not. I don't know if you know about the CDC like recommended schedule for infants. It's vicious. It's
Yeah.
like maybe 3 to 4 shots every visit.
Oh, wow.
From 3 months.
Oh, wow.
So 3 months, 6 months, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like 3 to 4 shots every single time. And I'm looking at the thing and I'm like I need a second to read what, you know, this even is.
Yeah.
Like, granted, I've got all the shots under the sky.
Yeah.
You know, like being in the military, dude.
Yeah.
They line you up at basics in an assembly line and give
Really?
you like 7 to 8 shots.
Yeah, that's part
Bro.
of it.
And people like drop out, so they'll like recycle a week because they're so sick
Really?
as adults.
Yeah.
Right. So I think about that and I'm like, why does my 3-month-old need
4 shots.
vaccines right now? He's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
You know, he's not even crawling on the floor yet. Like, he's stuck to us.
Yeah.
You know, so I do give him that because he gave us the option, right? At the other pediatricians, they're like, oh no, he needs this.
Yeah.
You know, like he's going to get these today.
If he's going to come
type-
here, he's going to get these shots.
Right, and it's like, well, okay, we'll leave.
See ya.
Yeah, and once again, freedom.
Yeah.
Right, like you don't
That's a
have
great point.
you don't have to do everything that someone's telling you to do. And as parents, I think it's the best practice to question everything. Like,
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of things too, like your upbringing, right? Like, our parents weren't perfect. You look around at people our age, you know, I don't know how old your parents were when they had you, but like you look at people your parents' age when they had you, you're like, no one's got their shit together.
Yeah.
You know, we're still figuring it out.
Yeah.
You know, how do you think our parents felt?
There's a
It's-
quote my mom sent me, and it was, because, you know, I may be a little harsh on them sometimes with
Right,
that.
right.
And she sent me a quote that was, growing up is realizing your parents are still growing up too.
Facts.
And I I try to internalize it and implement it, but it's hard because you're like, wait, they're my parents, they should know. And I feel like for you
Right.
and Linda, when y'all had your son, you're probably
Yeah.
like, oh wait, we don't know everything.
Right.
Wait, what are we talking?
And you can recall your parents saying like, "Oh, you'll understand. You'll know one day," you know? And like it clicks, dude. And any sort of like trauma or any sort of like any negative experience through childhood, you heal. Right when you have your son or your daughter or whatever,
Yeah.
your kid, you're just like I get it, dude. They were giving us the best that they had,
That's awesome.
right? And you're just like, that's it, I forgive, you
Yeah.
know? And I appreciate even more. So like I don't resent my parents at all, you
Yeah.
know, because they, like I said, my dad worked his ass off.
Yep.
He allowed my mom to stay home and to heal herself, you
Yep.
know, because everyone's got shit, right?
Yep.
So
That's
Yeah.
awesome. I
Yeah.
think that's a powerful perspective that I don't know if anybody can really gain that perspective without having a child, frankly.
Right.
Maybe you can grasp it, but you can't truly understand it.
right.
And perhaps that's maybe one of the gifts,
Yeah.
one of the many gifts of having
Absolutely.
a child.
Yeah, and it's the world just kind of opens up
Yeah.
to everything. It's like with the journey of parenthood, you start to realize that, or you start to take your health more seriously.
Yeah.
And start taking more accountability, right? Because it's like I could sit here and just whine and complain that, you know, there are toxins in the
Yeah.
food, right? But it's like, or go set up some garden beds and start growing some tomatoes, cucumbers, whatever, sweet potatoes.
And then spraying Roundup all over it.
Oh, no, absolutely not.
I'm kidding.
Yeah,
Do the
but-
exact opposite of that. Throw away.
But dude, like, I mean, I can't, like, we're still on the journey, right?
Yeah.
We can't say we're better than anybody because, dude, I don't know what to do with the Roundup I bought 3 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, once you find out that it's killing us,
Yeah,
dude. It's slowly
glyphosate.
killing us, but it's such a slow burn that Americans are like, I
Yeah.
don't really care,
It's,
you know?
It's a word that I've been focusing on recently is expediency.
Right.
And I literally wrote this down as a value the other day. Choose integrity over expediency. And in America, in Western culture specifically, it is so hard to not choose expediency.
Right.
Meaning like just the instant gratification of everything.
Right.
And so if sickness, for example, what do you mean? I feel fine. Roundup's not killing me. We have this inability to see the long-term effects of that can
Right.
compound and compound and compound and compound.
Right.
And perhaps you having a son is what needed to happen for you guys to change that for yourselves,
Yeah.
and then change it for him, and
Yeah.
then change it for his children, and so on and so forth. And you start this, hopefully, a beautiful lineage of people that are aware of that type of stuff earlier and earlier and earlier.
Right.
And then it's a more abundant and healthy life.
Absolutely. And that is definitely one of the lessons you also learn as a parent, right? It's like you gain patience and then you understand delayed gratification. And it's ridiculous because prior to finding out that, you know, we were pregnant, Linda was pregnant, I really had, you know, it wasn't really on my radar to have a kid. I
Yeah.
was trying to live fast. I was, you know, I didn't get everything I wanted out of, you know, my current enlistment. So I was like, you know, I want to do more. I want to be more. I want to sacrifice more.
Yeah.
I want to be on the level of those men that I was, you know, surrounded by, supporting. And that's when, like, as I was transitioning out of the Air Force, I think I told you I went to go do the guard selection for Green Berets, and it was like, it's like their precursor, right? So
Yeah.
it's just an exercise. And driving to that course is when Linda called me. She FaceTimes me, and it's like, never seen her face like that, shook, dude. Like, she was like, you know, just frozen for a little bit. And I was like, hey, what's up? You know, like, words,
Yeah,
use them.
need to
Yeah.
communicate.
Hey, what's up? You know, and she's like, I just took, you know, 2 pregnancy tests. And dude, Linda was a bartender. She was doing some Bottle Girl
Yeah.
stuff, and like I said, we were living fast,
Yeah.
partying, stuff like that. And she hit me. She's like, I took 2 pregnancy tests, and you know they're positive.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Okay.
yeah. And it was immediate. I was like, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, okay.
I'm gonna be a dad.
And she was like, how do you feel? I was like, I'm happy.
Yeah.
You know, like, although it's not on your radar, dude,
Yeah.
like, there is nothing that makes you man the fuck up more than, like, I'm pregnant, dude. Like,
You gotta provide.
You have to, bro. And so my only plan was get out of the Air Force, go guard, hopefully pick up a contracting job while I'm doing the guard SF thing and,
Yep.
Double dip or whatever. But like the pipeline and the process is so long, and it requires me moving to another state. So I was like, okay, I told Linda, no shit, like if it gets too tough, we can just take a pause, or you can just leave me.
Yeah.
So I was willing to risk the relationship, risk
Yeah.
everything. So when I got that news driving there, it was just, the timing was impeccable, dude.
As it often is.
Right.
In hindsight.
Right. And I still go to the course, and, I tell the chief, I'm like, hey, like, I think I want to complete the course, and, I want to come to the follow-on training, but I think I might need like a year off or something like that, a break in service to take care of my family. I just found out my girl's pregnant. And he's like, if you don't take care of that shit, I don't want you on the team. And I'm like, facts.
That's what you need to hear.
Facts. But the break in service, dude, like, I can't turn back.
Yeah.
Because this is where I belong.
Yeah.
When I was trying to chase the title to become a man, I had something smack me in the face to force me to become a man.
Yeah.
Period. And like I said, like, they're a great group of guys, but the ops tempo is so vicious.
Yeah.
Like, how much are you going to be present for your family? And I think my mission has changed, right?
Sure.
So I need to protect them, and that's what comes first.
Yeah. It comes down to hierarchy of importance to you.
Right.
And that's a decision everybody's got to make. I mean, I know, I don't know anybody personally, but I know there's like I mentioned previously, some of the most elite soldiers, warriors in human history are alive today serving the U.S. military.
Absolutely.
And some of them decided that that's more important, which I'm grateful for them. Like,
Right.
I just think that's a decision everybody's got to make, and you obviously made yours, and I think it's very cool that you're not turning back, because
Right.
I've never served. I've heard people speak about it, but it's I hear so many people that served in like a high tempo capacity and in a what's the word, non-conventional way,
Yeah.
that it's so addicting almost.
Yeah.
It's like an addicting feeling.
Right.
And to be able to take a step back, say, okay, maybe my family needs to come first at this point.
Right.
And then you make that leap and you take that jump, and now you're here
Right.
living a dang good life.
Right, dude. And like, I mean, my boys are still getting after it, right? So the dude I went to that training course with is, currently still in the pipeline.
Really?
And I check in on him, and he's like, you regret it? And I'm like, nah, dude.
I'm drinking coffee with my son.
Yeah, brother. I can't look back now, man.
That's awesome.
So yeah, it's like, it's not one of those things where it's like, I wish I could have pushed myself a little bit more. I wish I could have, done more hard shit in my life. It's like, yeah, wake up and do hard shit every day, regardless.
Yeah.
Just try to. But the only thing I felt like I was missing from the job I did was the camaraderie aspect. It was like, you have a one-off position, and you're the only enlisted dude there.
Yeah.
You're flying with a bunch of officers, and it's like, they put themselves on a pedestal,
Yeah.
and there's like a hierarchy type deal, right? So
Sure.
it's like, the respect wasn't really there unless you make sure,
Honored it.
You make sure that your presence is known, or else you're just gonna get pushed off to the side. When in actuality, like, your system that you're operating is the mission,
Yeah.
but they don't care, because
Yeah.
it's like the personalities that
Sure.
go through this job, and I lucked out getting the job because it opened up more doors for me, right? But like, I could have been a cop in
Yeah.
the military, I could have got anything else, but I got
And does that harken back to that open contract, is what you're saying?
yes.
Okay, so if they had an opening literally like that, they said, hey, here you go.
Yeah, it was like, hey, we have a cop.
Lucky
You can be a
man.
cop, dude. But I lucked out, man.
Yeah.
But the only thing was, like, the lie was you can retrain at any point. I mean, it's partially true, but you can only retrain if your career field is not as critically manned as the other career field you're going into. So it's like, there's rules
Caveats
and
and all
there's
that stuff.
caveats, right? So it was like, the entire time I was like, hey, I want to retrain. Package,
Yeah.
denied. I was like, yo, what? Like, we don't have the numbers, min-manning, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. And I'm like, okay, I want to retrain.
Yeah.
Denied. And I'm like, I'm getting out soon. I want to retrain. Denied. And you're like, bro, but it states here, and it's like, but no.
Yeah.
But
Fine print.
but the fine print, it's like, I don't really get it. But I was like, don't you, aren't those ground positions more high in demand than what I'm doing?
Yeah.
They're like, absolutely not.
Really?
You know, like they have to request other branches to
Yeah.
come fill what we do because there's not enough.
Yeah.
You know?
That actually brings up the question of why you chose Air Force, because I don't know much about the base situation in Hawaii, but I would assume it's you're by the water. I would assume, like, I mean, off the top, Navy SEALs would be like the go-to, frankly, just because it's by the water. You're probably comfortable in the water. You've been in the water, and that's typically a pretty strong correlation. So why Air Force?
I did Navy JRTC all 4 years of high school.
Oh, cool.
I was that nerd.
Right on.
The fucking
respect.
triangle hat, dude.
Respect.
Yeah, hall monitors. But but yeah,
Stop running.
Yeah. Drop. No, anyway, yeah, I did Navy JRTC, and it was like we did a couple spring trips. We did a couple spring trips, right? And it's like you sleep on this fucking barge, and you ever see them? They're like bunked up three in a row.
My buddy was in the Navy. He's giving me the rundown, man.
It's terrible. And all we did was like 2 weeks on this thing, and I was like, absolutely not happening. You know, and then it's astonishing, like the jokes about the Navy, like
they're real.
They're bad, dude. Like the seamen, yeah, seamen, yeah. We'll just leave it at that. But it's wild, man.
Yeah.
So I was like, Navy's out of the question, and I was like, okay, Marine Corps. Yeah, like if you wanted to just go do fucking grunt shit, I was like, yeah, I'm all about it. But when I went to the recruiter, I was 17, so you need, parental approval. And I was like, Mom, I'm joining the Marines. My mom's this little Japanese lady. She's like, no, not happening. And I'm like,
sign the paper.
Okay, like it's not a question. You know, I'm like, I'm trying to join the Marine Corps. She's like, no, you can join the Air Force. And I was like, say less.
There you go.
You know, like the first 3 banners on like a recruiter's office is all of the cool jobs.
Yeah.
Like it's the combat controllers, the TAC-Ps, the PJs.
Yeah.
And you're like, I want that.
Yeah.
You know, and they're like, oh, it's a wait list, because Hawaii shares contracts with Japan and Guam. And you're like, okay. So I waited like almost a year, dude.
Really?
For one of these damn contracts. And by the time they got to me, they're like, okay, it was November. They're like, hey, dude, your start date would be in March. And I was like, no.
I want to start now.
Yeah, dude. I was like, no. Like, I'm tired of being a server. Like, I'm tired of my friends' parents asking me what I'm doing with my life. Like, I'm not I'm trying to get out here. And I was like, dude, kick me out of this recruiting office, and I'll join the Marine Corps because I'm 18 now.
Yeah.
So it's just weird, man. But like I said, I lucked out.
Yeah.
I lucked out 100%. Because I got to do 6 deployments, Iraq, Afghanistan, Africa, and none of them nice areas, but experience, right? Like
perspective,
dude, 100%. And I think a lot of it had to do with like solitude and just silence with yourself.
Yeah.
Because like the places in Africa, we didn't have Wi-Fi, or they didn't give us the Wi-Fi connection because we weren't like.
Yeah,
we weren't the team. We weren't the team guys. We were just there showing up to help them out, and they were just like, you guys are only going to be here for like a week.
Yeah.
So we didn't get it. What do? Read books.
Yep.
And what was I? Not turning 19 at the time, first deployment, sitting there like, I got to read books.
Twiddling your thumbs.
I got to read books and shit. Picking up grass, kicking dirt. There's like, so that's
a lot
like
of grass in Africa.
No. It's little spots, little weeds that grow out of the weirdest places.
Yeah, I believe it. Well,
yeah.
I was going to ask what part of Africa, but you don't need to get into that.
East Africa.
East Africa.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah.
That's this is another thing that's it's hard for me to conceptualize and fathom, but you hear it all the time that some of these deployments that are the hardest deployments these men have ever been on in their life, some of the most stressful environments, some of the craziest, most wild, most tragic things that they've ever experienced happened.
Yeah.
And they'll look back and be like, that was the best time of my life.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's your, but it speaks to perhaps the inherent, like how we're inherently wired as men to seek out that type of
hard shit.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man. Because like today, I don't know how you feel about today's workout, but after today's workout, I'm like, we're definitely close, dude. like how often in today's society are you gonna randomly meet somebody?
Yeah.
Go do something strenuous with them, and then just instantly click.
Yeah.
Like it's really tough. And so like, when I told you I picked up a couple of dudes to come over and work out and stuff, and it's like, I've offered this invitation out to anybody who wants it.
Yeah.
Like I've got guys who are like, I go to doctor's office or doctor's visit upon doctor's visit, and they don't know what's wrong with me. And I'm like, I can help you. Like
Come on over.
like I don't even have to pay. Like just come, just hang out, dude. And like, even if we do one workout and you sweat, like I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
You know, like just come out. You just need to change your lifestyle. That's all it's
Yeah.
about.
That's the that's the thing that you texted me this. You were like, dude, I think we were putting each other's lives for a reason.
Yeah.
I've literally it almost like got me hooked on door-to-door knocking, because I was like, look, I'm like, wait, is this guy gonna be like my like, what's going on? And I had like great conversations with a lot of people, but I can't remember the first thing that we spoke about. Maybe it was jiu-jitsu, and then we get into the fact that you have a home gym, and I had a glass water bottle, and then we talk about barefoot shoes, and we talk about water filter, and I'm like, are you like? I think you could be me and my brother's best friend. Like,
Yeah.
this is literally what we talk about
Right.
all the time.
Right.
And to harken back on what you said about hard things, that's the best proxy for who somebody is, in my opinion. And I have a buddy who I'm talking to next week. Met him one time, and it was like, wait, dude, you might be my actual blood brother.
Yeah.
We did a hard session together, and it's the same thing.
Right.
Because shared adversity, and this is exactly, you build camaraderie in the military. You go through shared adversity. That is the only real way, in my opinion, to build that deep connection, because you have to go through something that's non-trivial, that's actually going to test you.
Right.
And then you learn about the other person, you build trust in the other person, and vice versa. So, I mean, first off, I appreciate you inviting me over.
Yeah.
You've got a freaking sweet gym set up.
Thanks.
It's elite.
Thank you. Thank you.
And that was a hell of a workout. I mean, we did.
Thanks for showing up. That's the hardest part for a lot of dudes, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, you can message all day on Instagram like, oh, dude, that's sick. You know, when can I work out? And I'm like, tomorrow.
Now.
Yeah, I'm free. You know, a couple hours. You know, so it's like, but nothing. You know, like I know you're a man of your word, because. So back to how we met, right? Like, I was literally like hands deep into making burgers, right? Hands were full of meat, and I was like, hey, answer that doorbell real quick, you know. See this giant dude in the camera. I'm like, what's he want? You know, as long as he's not ATF or IRS or something, you know, like, what's up, dude?
Got a badge on me?
Yeah, and like honestly, like I don't really answer the door or even respond to people. I'm like, oh, I'm not interested.
Yeah.
You know, but that day I was like, what's up, dude? You know, like, oh, you got some stuff. I was like, oh, send me a link.
Yeah.
Let me look into it and then come back. And for me to even text back too, I was like, yeah, I might as well take a leap, and we'll see what it's about. You know, he seems like an honest dude, and I'm so glad I did.
Yeah.
I'm very grateful for meeting you, and I'm very excited for your journey as well.
Likewise. I think to speak on maybe the practical nature of that, in terms of this is one of the lessons I learned from door-to-door knocking, is the idea that we don't judge is false.
Yeah.
That's a fabricated societal construct to make people think that it's okay to be fat and be ugly and not take care of yourself. Like, I genuinely believe that, because you're knocking on the door, or somebody knocks on your door, and I'm not like the most ripped guy, I'm not like the best looking guy, but like I'm relatively well clean cut. I take care of myself physically.
Well spoken.
Try to be well spoken.
Yeah.
That person knocks on your door. You immediately, whether you know it or not, you're saying, okay, this guy works out. I can subconsciously even, you're like, okay, this guy definitely works out, so he's at least got some integrity.
Right.
Okay, he's clean cut. He's not just like hair all over the place and all that stuff. Okay, he's at least got some integrity. And that way, okay, let's see what he's got to say, as opposed to a fat guy with like a long, crazy, unkept beard and hair with sloppy shirt and shorts that aren't fitting and all and no muscle mass.
Yep.
Whether you admit it or not, I believe that makes a difference.
100%.
And so if I wasn't in the shape that I'm in, maybe we wouldn't be here.
Probably not, dude. 100%, dude.
I would have pressed no on the doorbell.
Yeah, and it is crazy, and that image is everything, right? Because that's your first introduction. You know, like before you even speak, how you present yourself physically is everything.
Yep.
You know, the second you look at somebody, you're like, I'm not listening to you. Like a doctor, like I said, the pediatrician, he walks in the room, and you're like, I'm not taking health advice from someone that doesn't take health advice.
Use your eyes.
Yeah, like it's that easy.
It's that easy.
And it's not like, it's not being superficial. It's just human instinct almost. You know, it's like you're prejudging. You prejudge everything, and that's how you avoid danger, threats.
Yep.
Right. You look at a thorny bush. You know what it's going to do to you, so you don't walk into it. That's
You could not judge. Yeah, you could not judge the bush, and
hey, you could walk right into it. By all means, do it.
Try it.
You know, like we all have preconceived notions of everything. Like, and like you said, when society doesn't do that, like you lead a dangerous road. You know, and it is legit dangerous.
Yeah.
Like to blindly assume that everyone is just good is wrong. You know, so it's like I'm going to give everyone the benefit of the doubt until they prove me otherwise.
Sure.
Right. But I still have my reservations for certain people and certain things. And I'm just not going to blatantly put myself into danger because I'm all willy-nilly.
In the name of not being judgmental.
Right.
The people that do that become the victims of
100%. 100%. Like,
and that's the way it goes.
Simply put, not to be corny, like stay vigilant. Stay vigilant.
Yeah.
You know, like don't be stupid. Don't be stupid.
And to me, it's you obviously have a family now, so you have people that you're protecting actively. That's like one of your predominant imperatives. I would
It's the utmost importance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the way that I think about it is like I could say I don't judge people. I don't judge environments. I don't judge things. Okay, go to a gas station in a sketchy area and not judge people and see how many times you go to that gas station before you become a victim of a crime and put your family in danger.
Hey, fuck around and find out, right?
Exactly. So the reality is there's a fine line, obviously, between being between being like overly judgmental and making, I don't know what that word would be.
That would be prejudice, right?
Exactly.
So,
there you go. It's great.
Like preventing yourself from even, starting a, stream of communication with someone because they look a certain way, right?
Yeah.
But I'm not saying that I do that. I give everyone the benefit of the doubt, right? But if my first image or my first thought of you is like he doesn't take himself seriously, that's what I'm gonna have. But I'm gonna listen to you.
Yeah.
And it happens all the time in the military, especially in my career field, dude. Like the higher up NCOs and whatnot, they get complacent, right? They start to skip PT tests. They start to lose themselves a little bit, and you're like, if one of those guys tries to chew you out, you kind of just look at him and you're like, like, hey,
what you're saying means nothing.
Yeah, like beyond the rank, dude. Like, I don't have to be here.
Yeah.
And if you want to do this, like, outside of uniform, it's not going to happen this way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, just chill out.
Yeah.
Just chill out and talk to me like a human being.
Yeah.
How about that? And that was another one of my issues. It was like, it wasn't an issue with authority. It was an issue with respect.
Yeah.
And if you're going to come at me a certain way when you don't uphold the standard, period,
Sure.
respect's out the window.
As it should be.
Yeah, as a leader, how do I follow you when you don't respect yourself?
It's the word leader.
Yeah.
You lead.
You lead.
Exactly. So
100%.
In all capacities, I think that's fascinating.
Right.
The idea that the military, I mean, it happens in every organization. The bureaucracy, just the kind of political nature of big organizations I don't want to say it's unfortunate because I really believe it's just like the nature of those types of things.
Right.
It's an interesting line to walk because you're obviously a sovereign individual seeking more sovereignty.
Yep.
Obviously, we're talking about like vaccines and different toxins. And then on the other hand, you want to serve your country. You want to serve alongside your brothers and people that are elite at what they do, putting their lives on the line. How did you navigate that line? How did you sort of walk that? If you were even conscious of like doing it at that point.
I honestly wasn't.
Really?
Yeah. I think the military was great because, like I said, those deployments with solitude and stuff like that, you start to gain that internal voice.
Yeah.
Like growing up, like while you're under your parents' household, I can't really remember a time where I was making decisions for myself. Like I did have a job in high school. I did, do my own things, and I wasn't like, I didn't really have great communication with my parents, but at the same time, like I was restricted to what I could do, right? So your internal dialogue isn't really developed while you're under your parents' household. So when you leave, I'm still building, who I am, like what my voice is, and I'm just, you kind of me and my buddy talk about it often. Like, you kind of try on different hats to see who you want to be, because there are stereotypes and archetypes that you can fit in to like try to mold yourself into, you know, your ideal image.
Sure.
Right. And it just takes time. And I think that's just the process of maturity.
Sure.
Right. When you start to develop, like, yeah, I've got a person in here,
Yeah.
you know, and they're deciding what I need to do. So it has taken me up to, you know, my son's birth to realize that, like, I've kind of just been, you know, doing societal standards, you know, like living life the way my parents handed me off, you know, and then you take a step back from that too, and you're like, you look at friends and stuff, they start to get fat, and they're like, oh, it's genetics, it's hereditary, you know, and I'm like, the only, you know, the joke, it's like the only thing that runs in your, or no one runs in your family, that's the only thing that runs in your family, you know.
Oh, wait, I've never heard that before. No
one runs in your family. Yeah, that's
why it's genetic.
That's why it's genetic.
That's a good one. I've never heard that before.
Right. And so you start to break apart, like, you know, little nuances that, like, maybe you don't really like the way your parents did something, right? So, like, once again, freedom, right? You can change it. You can change everything, almost everything.
Yeah.
You know, and it just takes that it just needs to become a priority for yourself.
That solitude. I saw somebody say this recently. There's two words we use for being alone. The one it was Jay Shetty. I don't know if you know who that is.
I've heard of him.
He's got a lot of good content, but like 99% of the time in Western culture, we use the word loneliness,
right?
Which is associated with sadness and depression and isolation. The other word that we could use is solitude,
right? Which
I believe that solitude is an absolute necessity for a human being to become to become the best version of themselves. Because like you said, you're sharpening that voice. You're starting to build your intuition. You're starting to create the person you actually want to become, as opposed to when you don't have solitude, you have all these external voices in your head.
Right.
It's like a filing cabinet. You need to take time back and file. Oh, you know what? I don't like that. I'm going to put that in the trash. I don't like that. Put in the trash. Oh, okay, I'm going to put that one up here because I really like that. Right. And et cetera. So that's, as a 19-year-old, you said, having solitude like that, man, that's probably, I think a lot of people will be older, 60, 70 years old, and wish that they had no Wi-Fi in Africa. Yeah. Or no Wi-Fi in Middle East.
100%, dude. And it was like, I think I met Linda before that deployment. You know, I met her at Tampa at a music festival. She's like a few years older than me. And when I came back, dude, and I was like, hey, like, what's up? Yeah. You know, like, when I came back, she was like, you know, you're different. You're different. Dude. Like, you are not, you know, I think it was maybe like a year or two.
Built different, bro.
Yeah, she was like, you're only 21 now, you know, and I was like, hey, I'm not trying to act like anything, but, you know, like, you just need a second. You need a second by yourself. Yeah, it truly isn't. And I think it's so necessary. And that's why, here's a quick thought, like, maybe, like, mandatory service, or at least mandatory, you know, an occupational job that you're away from your family is necessary.
I think mandatory service is an interesting conversation to be had. Right. I really do.
Right. Maybe if it's 2 years.
Talk about the patriotism, the love of, like, this community and what we have. Right. The luck and the perspective that you built. Yeah. I mean, talk about freedom. It's refreshing to hear you say that, frankly, because that's something that I take for granted for sure. It's like the freedom to even choose your doctor. Yes. Go to Iran and try to choose your doctor and tell them you're not getting the shots that they want.
Or get a doctor, period.
Exactly. Great point. Go to Cuba 20 years ago and try to do that. So it's freedom we take for granted, and that's an interesting, not to interrupt, but that's a very interesting conversation.
100%, dude. So you look at a time where there was mandatory service in the United States, right? The draft. You look at these guys. Some of my neighbors are Vietnam vets. Oh, dude, they're built different. Yep. Like that is a different.
You know
breed.
what? I think I knocked on one of their doors.
This one?
Yeah, spoke to him for
Don,
a while. Yeah,
very old, charismatic.
Yeah. Told me no thanks. I was like, thank you for your service, sir. Wait, I think he might have been in the Air Force as well.
Yeah, Air Force, dude. He's the HOA president here. And
right on.
As soon as I moved in, I put up that big ass flag. He was like,
I like this guy.
He's like, and I called him sir, and he was like, yeah.
You're right.
And he was like, you want to be HOA vice president? And I was like, what? I was like, hey.
Mandatory water filters for every house.
Yeah. So,
But sorry to interrupt.
But yeah, so the generation of men that was produced after a mandatory service type deal,
Yeah.
right? I mean, you could skate out of the draft, but it wasn't really happening. Almost everyone in their pops was going to war, you know? And that shaped an entire generation of men.
Entirely.
Like, you look at these guys, like, he's like 86, this guy's 90-something, and you'll see him walk every single morning.
Chugging along.
Dude, just crushing life, you know? And I'm like, they truly are the definition of built different. Like, our generations coming up are not doing that, you know? They were not forced to go do something that, you know, they didn't want to do. And
frankly, they could have died doing.
Right. Or even the voluntary service thing is interesting too, because like these are dudes that they're not being forced to do it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's, so it takes me to, I guess this is my last negative thing to say about like what my career field, but like.
Well, I mean, the thing is, you're so in it that you're aware of all these things. So I don't think it's like a bad thing. Obviously, any career field or anything that you dive into, you're going to be able to have so much more perspective and nuance that you're going to know. You're going to be able to peep under the cover and be like, oh, So
it was
maybe a little solace for that.
They kind of built to like an environment of bitching, and it was just like, it was a bitching competition, dude. It was every day negativity, walking in, walking out, negativity, and I was like, I'm kind of sick of it. You know, I started reading like namaste books and like, you know, shit just to get my head right. And I was like, man, like, but it was great because if you didn't want to be around it, you could leave and go to the gym. Yeah. Or, you know, like you go fly your mission, you do whatever, and you come back, and it's like, if you're not working out, dude, like, what else are you doing? Yeah. You know? And I think it was like, what was it? My last deployment was when I straight up did no fap. Yeah. And I was like, I'm over it, dude. Yeah. I don't know about you. I started talking in the room because I'm like the king of bringing up random conversations when people are just talking about dumb shit like sports. You know, I'll be like, dude, I feel disgusting after masturbating, so I'm not doing it anymore. And they're like,
bro, we were just talking about the Yankees. What are you talking about?
Like, chill, bro. And
I'm actually pretty similar in that regard.
Yeah, I'm like, think about it though. Like, do you actually feel good after you do that? And like, you know, I was listening to someone talk about, you know, pornography. Yeah. And they were just like, think about what you're doing, right? Like, you in a dark room, in the corner of a room, doing the deed to someone doing the deed. Yeah.
Through a screen.
Like, you're a cuck. Yeah. And I was like, oh.
No, I'm good.
not happening, dude.
No, that's the, I'm glad you brought that up. I think that's like one of the hidden, it's so accepted, especially in like young male culture nowadays. It's just like, which I don't think, we talked about this earlier, I don't think it's unintentional. No. I really don't. No. And that's something that I've struggled with for a long time. I've been aware of it. Like, I heard, I want to say Solbra, he posted something where he was like, why are you as a man watching another man have sex on a screen? Yeah. And then ejaculate. Like think about that for a second. You're like, oh wait, oof. What? Yeah. So I mean that's another thing. If you didn't have the solitude in that deployment, maybe you wouldn't have come to that conclusion. Right. And so that's another massive blessing.
Dude, it's all just character building, dude. Yeah. Like those quiet times are just like it. Because I didn't try to fill myself with just like YouTube and you know, like steady on social media. I was like, you know what, let me read 50 pages a day. Yeah. Start there and scale it up. Yeah. And I started to crush books, dude, like never before. And it was just great. It was just, but there became a certain point where it was like, you can only read so many self-help books. You can only read so many books on living a namaste life. You know, it's like, but like, when are you going to do it? Mm-hmm. You know, so like knowledge without application is nothing. Yeah. You know, until you start to make the changes in your life, you're just a guy that can make a lot of quotes and, you know, say the right things to people in conversation. Entirely. Yeah. And it's like, I just wanted to be a guy who was all about action and then surround myself by people who are doing. Yeah. You know,
there's a quote that I coined back in the day. I'm trying to remember it so I don't botch it, but gaining awareness is key, but action upon that awareness will set you free. Ooh. Meaning, like you just mentioned, you can know all these things, which honestly, if you really knew these things, I believe that if you really understand something, you act on it, because that's
Right.
the manifestation of understanding.
Yeah.
But you can read all these books. You can, like you mentioned, you read all these books, watch all these motivational YouTubes of going to work out. Chris Williamson, who does the Modern Wisdom podcast, talks about lists of things that are not doing the thing, talking about the thing, writing down about doing the thing.
Yeah.
Telling somebody else you're doing the thing, watching videos on the thing.
Yep.
Do the thing.
Yeah.
Do it badly. Just go do the actual thing.
Yep.
And to be surrounded by dudes that are doing the things.
Yeah.
I mean, you're either going to get left behind, or you're going to be like, oh, wait, maybe I should go do that thing too.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. And that's why it was like, it was great being out there in the community surrounded by those dudes, but I knew I couldn't do like another year.
Yeah.
With the unit I was with. I was like it's not my crowd.
Yeah.
You know, it's just not my people.
And then you move on though. You
Yeah.
Another thought I just had about the draft and how that shaped a group of men.
Mm-hmm.
There is, I don't know what to call it per se, but there's a competitive, like, built-in accountability to men.
Mm-hmm.
If you saw all your buddies back in 1941, 1942, 1943, everybody in your neighborhood turning 18 and, like, running to the office to go sign up to serve their country.
Yeah.
And you're sitting there in the corner like, there's two things that could happen. You could either be like, okay, well, I guess I'll go.
Yeah.
Or two, they can all come back and look at you completely different.
Yeah.
You will be no longer part of that group. You will
Yep.
be a lesser man. You'll be of completely degraded value to, like, you see what I'm saying? Obviously, there's
Right.
different situations where
100%.
people can't serve, but, like,
Yeah.
do the thing.
Yeah.
Like, all your neighbors are doing the thing. Everybody went and did the thing, and then
Right.
we won a world war. So
Right.
I think that's a powerful concept as well.
Yeah, and earlier we talked about taking risks, right? And it's like, it's just necessary. Like, you just need to do it.
Yeah.
You know, like, who cares?
Yeah.
You know, especially in your, who cares what age you are?
Yeah.
Just do it.
There's obviously
You know?
calculations that need to be made, especially, like, as you grow a family and you're building a
Yes.
family.
Yeah.
There's different things that need to be taken into account because
Right.
you're responsible for other people. But I think it's a psyop again that, like, to go get that job and go work that job and build up that job for 40, 50 years.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's wrong. Both my parents did that. I love them to death. They've provided a phenomenal life for me and my siblings and for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason, since I was a little kid, I was like, okay, wait a second, dude. Like, maybe it was like the ADHD in me, but I'm like, if I had to go sit in an office for X amount of hours a day, I don't know what I would do. I think I'd go insane.
Couldn't do it.
And that's not to say it's not for everybody. I'm talking personally, but I do think that it's one of those things that's intentionally pushed
Yeah.
to get people to leave this stage in life and then go to the next stage in life and go to the next stage in life, and it's like a script.
Right.
Instead of taking that risk, gaining that solitude,
Right.
gaining that voice, so then you can start filing your own cabinet and then making decisions on your own.
Right. And I think it exactly correlates with the rise in anxiety and depression in our society, right?
Sure.
Because it's like you're going to be thinking the grass is always greener until you can't see anymore.
Yeah.
So you're just swallowed up by the system.
Wow, that's a great quote.
Right. So you're constantly reaching, oh, maybe if this next corporate job or this next corporate position will work out for me.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it's like, where's the purpose?
Yeah.
You know, like, when did we start to value women, or when did we tell women to start valuing their careers over motherhood, right?
Probably, yeah. We could
That's
get into
another psyop,
yeah,
dude.
we could go on a deep rabbit hole about that and, like, depopulation and all that stuff.
Right.
We
And
can get into it.
dude, and I mean, like, good on all women, and, you know, good for them for building their own, you know, empires and whatnot. But, like, I guess we're a case study of one, you know,
Yeah.
for me to see my wife build her own career, because she was doing an esthetician type deal, so she did eyelashes and eyebrows. They can make a shit ton of money. You know, she could have just kept chasing that. But, dude, she's like, I was like, do you want to work? She's like, no. You know, she was taking friends, you know, every like 2 or 3 times a week, and I was like, do you want to continue? She's like, not really. And I was like, okay. Like, if
Say
it's
less,
too
I'll
much,
go- I'll go
I'll
get
go
on it.
work. I'll go work.
I'll go
You know,
on
and I
it.
think that's another thing where it's like men, we need to step up. We need to make sure that women feel comfortable enough to be like, yeah, I could leave my career because my husband's got me.
Well, the only way for women to even do that effectively and experience the beauty that is motherhood,
Yeah.
and the natural imperative that is motherhood,
Yeah.
is for the man,
Yeah.
to step up and be able to provide that.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, I think it's cool. I think it's a great dynamic, and I also think it's. I don't know where that happened, frankly. Like when we could probably do some research, but when
Yeah.
that happened, where it was like, maybe it was a slow burn,
Yeah.
pushing corporate validation, corporate success,
Right.
as more, like, because I've actually, like, looking back on it, I don't know if you could say the same, but I've vaguely remember conversations with someone where they almost downgrade, like, oh yeah, well, she's a stay-at-home mom, or like she doesn't work, and I'm looking back, I'm like, sister, you got it flipped upside down.
Yeah,
like I'm like, oh, she's a stay-at-home mom.
Dude, when I come home and I see like my wife's day-to-day activities and how much weight she pulls for this family, I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, you need to be on salary, you know, and like that salary means that you don't need to work ever, you know, and I'm
Yeah.
like, like that's just so much more drive for me. It's like a good pressure. It's like,
Oh, yeah.
I cannot fail her because she is putting up so much.
Yeah.
And let alone like the sacrifice and just seeing her push through a natural birth was,
Yeah,
dude, it strengthened our bond so much.
I believe it.
To the point where it was like, dude, like women are it, dude. Like you guys are warriors. Shout out to all the moms, you know.
Well, like, this is another talking about like gender differences.
Yeah.
A man could literally never do that.
Yeah.
That's
No.
one of the. It's hard for me to even conceptualize. That is bringing another human being into the world, like a literal me that's smaller.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bring that human being into the world, like that is. I don't think people understand how insane that is.
It's wild, dude.
It's another living organism that
It's
will
wild.
grow up to be a huge organism.
Yes.
I got
Dude, I mean, you think about it. She took a 8-pound shit. Bro. Built
I've never
different.
heard-
Built different is an understatement,
Dude,
man.
I've never heard that before. That's good.
Crazy. And
Wow. Built
like,
different, yeah.
Dude,
straight
she
up.
did it. No meds, nothing.
That's incredible.
No meds.
And
I
so-
was like, whew.
I gotta express just some admiration for the way that y'all have done that, because, like I mentioned to you earlier in the podcast, I recorded on earlier this week with the holistic doctor that I go to, talks about toxins in children and how, unfortunately, maybe not unfortunately, maybe there's a silver lining to it all, but kids are being born
Yeah.
with hundreds of toxins in them.
Right.
Hundreds. And so it's like, okay, these kids might, I mentioned this in the podcast, these kids might live longer lifespans than us, maybe, but what's the quality of life difference than
Right.
somebody who grows up in an environment where they're not exposed to these toxins because their parents were diligent, and so what I mentioned earlier about you guys and your son,
Right.
and his children, and think about how healthy your son's son could be,
Right.
and how vital his life could be,
Right.
because of the decisions y'all have made, the sacrifices y'all have made, the not caring that your neighbors think you're weird for putting in a filter or doing this or doing that. You see what I'm saying? That's the thing that holds people back.
Yeah, yeah, and it's another thing why we wanted to start Love a Parent, right? It's like it's just the fact of when we talked about presenting yourself, like being the most genuine you can, you know, like putting your best foot forward and just being able to be weird.
Yeah.
You know, like what you see is what you're getting.
Yeah.
You know, and I think, not to bash any of like the homesteaders or people who are living natural lives, but like you look at that niche and you're kind of like, I was just confused because there are a lot of overweight people,
Yeah.
you know, still in the natural scene. And I was like, once again, and back to the fact of image, and it's like, well, I want people to see like there are regular people like us
Yeah.
who are still able to, you know, weight lift and still able
Yeah.
to manage some things and like, okay, like those are people I want to kind of look like.
Sure.
You know, I want to aim my life after them because they're doing it right. It looks like
Yeah.
they're doing it right. So yeah, we wanted to enter the space and just be like, yeah, you can be weird, dude. Like you might, like people might think you're stinky because you're not wearing Axe and, you
Yeah.
know, like Oat Spice and shit. But like it's okay, man. Like
This is how I knew. I got two comments on it. This is how I knew I was going to a good spot. Earlier this morning, I thought about putting deodorant on. I use deodorant that has like no aluminum. No
Yeah.
And I even thought, I was like, I wonder if wonder if he's gonna be wearing deodorant. Like that's how I knew. That's a good. I'm like, okay, check. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
But no, I think that's awesome. I would love for you to speak on Live a Parent. Just a little bit more. Just dive into what that is. And
we're still trying to build exactly what we want to do, because we don't want to be like. I think there's such a negative stigma behind just like the influencer culture, right?
Yeah.
And the whole premise is just trying to be genuine,
mm-hmm.
right? So trying to like. I don't want to tell anybody to do anything, because everyone's stubborn. You know, no one's going to change unless they want to change,
mm-hmm.
right? So it's like for parents, like, hey, here's some easy solutions, or here's some easy alternatives. Like for diapers, dude, this is another like shift for me. It was like when we first started getting diapers, we had some diapers on like the registry and stuff, and we wanted to do like, you know, the more biodegradable ones, like just things that would, you know, go away a little bit quicker for the environment. And we got a bunch of them. And those like bamboo ones, let me tell you, man, they're so expensive.
Yeah.
And like when we filled up our first diaper pail, I was like, this is not the way to do this.
Yeah.
You know, so you start to think like, what's the alternative to disposable diapers? It's cloth diapering.
Yeah.
Okay, what are my reservations? I do not want shit in my washer and dryer.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, I just bought this damn thing.
Yeah.
It's disgusting, you know, and if people come visit us and they wash their clothes in our washer, like they're like, that's gross.
Yeah.
You know, but so what can you do? There's an alternative. So you can one, do elimination communication, which is just a modern term for infant potty training.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, we don't know what we don't know, right?
Yeah.
So you just start to go deeper and deeper. What is infant potty training? It's like you associate their cues with when to piss and shit.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of easy to guess.
Yeah.
Like after they eat, after they wake up, and then when they just start doing a funny wiggle.
You know what's funny about that is, just real quick to interject, how that correlates to human beings later in life as adults eating and functioning properly. There's a natural cycle of that, like a kid on a natural cycle poops and pees at certain times because of certain things in their body. So I think that's interesting.
Right, and it's like, so when we did that, it was like, dude, I'll be honest, there was like a 6-month period where my son didn't shit in a diaper.
Really?
And it was like, dude, every day I was like, is he going to do it? You know, is he going to do it? And they're like, no, he was shitting in the little toilet.
Yeah.
Every day. And I was like, bro, this is wild.
Yeah.
You know, but there comes a regression period where they kind of master it subconsciously, and they're like, I don't want to sit on this plastic toilet anymore.
Sure.
You know, so they start to regress, and they're like, okay, now they're more mobile. They want to play longer.
Yeah.
So they might have an accident here or there, and it's not perfect, but it works, you know. So that prevented, you know, poop stains and poop having to be washed in our washer. And also another thing you can do is apply a little handheld bidet thing to your toilet and just, you know, clean it off if you wanted to. And it gets rid of it for the most part. And so this goes into like the being weird part, right? Like, dude, his cloth diapers were so cool. Like they got designs and patterns and stuff on them, but it's dope. So it looks like shorts. You don't even got to buy shorts.
Yeah, dude. I mean, so first off, a comment on the word weird. I was literally speaking to my good friend yesterday morning about this.
Right.
Are you familiar with the origins of the word weird?
No, but I am on this warpath to understand language a little bit better, because we use these words, right, without understanding the origin.
What do they mean?
Yeah, and we're just blindly using words and saying things, and we're like, do you even know?
What's the first half of the word spelling? Spell.
Oh, spell. Yes. Okay.
So you're imparting a spell. You're imparting a spell on something, right?
Right.
So think about that. Spelling.
That's from the Four Agreements.
Is it?
Yes.
Oh, I don't even know.
Have you read that book?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it's
I
awesome.
literally have it on my. I try to read that every year. I've read it twice so far, but Don Miguel Ruiz.
Yes.
He's legit.
Yes.
But weird. I'm not gonna be able to tell you the exact origins and the exact meaning, but the term weird originally meant basically somebody's ability to create like the reality or have influence over the reality. And so you think about how it's changed. Like, oh, that's a weird guy over there.
Yeah.
It's like, I want to be weird as hell.
Yeah.
I want to be weird.
Exactly.
You're damn right. You're the one that's sitting there being cogged by the machine and just I don't know. Not to like point at that guy over there.
Yeah.
But like you see what I'm saying? It's like you need to wake up and understand that you have more influence over your environment than you think you do, and you're being fed this absolute bullshit by so many different things.
And I just think once again, it's like you're so fortunate to be here. it is literally so lucky.
Yeah.
Like I said, you're so lucky to be here right now to have the freedom of choice. You know, like, I'm glad we're waking up to the evils or the toxins and whatnot, but like, I'm still so grateful because, like, I don't have to. You know, like, you can't force me to yet. Right. So
it's a powerful thing. And you mentioned something earlier about a kayaking accident with your friend, and you made a comment about like losing your faith.
Right.
I wanted to circle back on that while I remember it. You mind diving into like what you mean by that? How that played out?
My stepfather was raised a Jehovah's Witness, and the second family that I kind of spent a lot of time with, they were Catholics, so I went to Catholic church a lot. From that incident, I was a senior in high school, still very ignorant, right? And that accident, I thought the relationship with God was sort of like a genie lamp.
Yeah.
You know, whenever you needed something, as long as you were good, you could rub it, say, "What's up, God?" You know, please. Right?
Please.
So you're sitting there begging, whatever, on your bedside, praying, begging. And through my ignorance, I lost my faith because, you know, nothing happened. Right? And I was like, well, you know, God's not real because you didn't help me out when I needed help. But, you know, it took me a few years, and it was kind of just like the influence or the couple things that I seen. It was like you get a little blurb of some atheists talking about, well, here's the fallacy of, you know, the Bible. And you're like, you know, well, there's fallacy in everything. Yeah. You know, so it took me a few years for growth. And once again, that introspection to want to find or want to be more spiritual. Right. And where I'm at now is I don't align with any religion currently, but I think the overarching lessons throughout religion is necessary, right?
Absolutely.
And I think it helps the least common denominator in society, right? You know, the people that need it the most, the organization, you know, you need all of that. I think it's necessary. But where I'm at now, I just don't align with any specific religion. I do believe there is a God, there is a higher power, there is an energy that has produced all of this. Yeah. Because you cannot look outside and tell me that this right now is not, you know, is not something greater than yourself.
100%.
And I think that lesson alone it speaks to, it's like humility, right? It's like understanding that, like, you're not the all being. There is something that connects us all. And I think that lesson should just allow us to be, you know, better to each other. Yeah. Right? And it's kind of like through your selfishness to be better to yourself, you will be better to your neighbor. Yeah. Type deal. Yeah.
There's a couple thoughts come to mind. I've been reading Jordan Peterson's book, 12 Rules for Life, recently. And in a recent chapter, he talks about sharing. Okay. And he talks about why it's important and why it basically came about. And he said the original form of sharing is with yourself. And so the way he tied this in just so eloquently, like he always does, is delayed gratification and the ability when we somehow realize that you can sacrifice something good now for something better later. Right. What is that? That's essentially sharing with myself in the future. So that's sharing with the future version of myself. Right. Then you start to be like, oh, wait, so if I don't eat right now, then I can eat more later? Okay, cool. So what does that mean with people, like other human beings? So if I share with them now, they'll give me something later. Right. Okay, wow, so we can live this cool, harmonious life. And he draws that story and that value and that lesson from biblical stories in Genesis and so on. I think it's fascinating. I think we all have our own journeys. I was raised in a Christian family, went to church very often, kind of fluctuated times where I was really, 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 like, religious, going to church often, and then it's not so much. And I probably went through like a 3-year period. I even posted about this on Instagram. Yeah. A 3-year period where I was spiritual, like the cliche, I was spiritual, not religious. I knew that there was something, but it was like, I just use God to like manifest stuff, you know? Like I'll just like, I know He's there, He's looking out for me. Or not, I was actually like thinking it wasn't more so of like a personification, but I now know the value in doing so. It's to make it more relatable to us as human beings that in terms of like religions that do that, because we can't understand who God is even
can't even
close.
fathom.
Yeah, so we have to like we have to dumb it down. And
Yeah.
in a video that Jordan Peterson has on YouTube, they were talking about how just as when you're wrestling with your son, you're so much more powerful than your son.
Yeah.
You could destroy him.
Yeah.
When you're wrestling with him, you only allow the perfect amount of balance between your ability and his ability to allow the game to being kept playing, like to be able to keep playing.
Yeah.
That's essentially a metaphor for God, right? Because if God used all his power right on, like in your face at the same time, you'd be like overwhelmed, be like, what's going on?
Right.
But I digress. The thing that really switched me back to, I'm not like religious in the sense, like I go to church when I can, or when I prioritize it.
Yeah.
But the idea that religion is important, I agree with fully. And I think that everybody's got their own journey.
Right.
Myself included, yourself.
Right.
And providence, God, whatever you want to call it, is in your favor.
Yeah.
And it's whatever the path that you're on, that he wants you to be on, you will be on. All I'll say on like Jesus and the idea of I just the more I've learned about Jesus as a human being that actually walked the earth, the more I'm like, wait, dude, if every guy was like that, the world would be incredible. Like,
Right.
Like literally, it'd be as close to heaven on earth, if not heaven on earth, as it could be. So I mean, what the thing that really flipped my mind, the reason I'm saying all this is really learning more about like Jesus as a human being.
Yes.
As the Son of God when he walked on earth, and learning more about the fact that he wasn't some passive bitch.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't some dude who got slapped in the face and said, "Oh, I'm gonna turn my cheek," whatever. Jordan Peterson, another quote, he said he knew how to use a sword, but he kept it sheathed. He was an extremely dangerous human being that used it for good, that had it under voluntary control, which is his definition of a good man.
Right.
I'd be interested to hear your take on that. Have you ever heard that quote?
I think I seen you post it, and I was like, yeah, right on, because people think that religion is all passive.
Yeah.
Right. When there are numerous like scriptures about aggression.
Yeah.
And, you know.
He
But
flipped over tables in a temple. Like, imagine somebody going into a church right now and getting pissed off and throwing something like that.
And so just like you said, like just the story, the mythos of Jesus, like himself, is, you know, it's like the archetype you want to follow. It's like, dude, these are like the basic parameters for being, you know, a solid dude. You know, like if
a good man.
You know, like, and if you take anything from religion, like, that's dope.
Yeah.
Because like, no religion just discounts that Jesus walked the earth. You know, like,
well, some do, but like not. Yeah. Like,
not many. Not many. You know, and but what blows my mind is the amount of religion.
Yeah.
So it all seems like, you know, like who wrote the Bible? You know, a man did. You know, so it's like, I think our purpose here is to learn and to seek introspection, to actually practice. You know, like, and to seek a relationship with, you know, with God.
Yeah.
Right. And when we just mindlessly regurgitate things in the Bible and just constantly go to church, like I don't think we're doing the work. We're just there. You know,
agree. You're not doing the thing.
You're not doing
about the
the
thing. You're telling quotes about the thing, but you're not doing the thing.
Yeah, and so this is going to be a weird route, but like psychedelics, right? There's a lot of talk on how psychedelics helps build more empathy and like literally people get a more spiritual experience through these experiences.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, and then you look at like the ancient cultures, like every ancient society had a practice that, you know, implemented some type of psychoactive substance that helped them gain more connection with, you know, the higher being. Because what we see right now,
sweat lodges with the Native Americans, stuff like that, where they have like these like hallucinating experiences.
Yeah, that's why ayahuasca is so big right now.
Yeah.
You know, but it's like we're not doing the practice anymore. We're just sitting. Yeah. You know. So we need to continue to build and continue to grow off certain knowledge and not just leave it at that.
I think the idea of looking to the past is almost frowned upon nowadays, especially in health. Like the biggest thing that people argue against, like the holistic, like looking towards ancestral tenets to bring up Liver King, is what about our lifespans longer? Like blah blah blah. Like what about this? First off, there's a lot of documentation about or there's not a lot of documentation about most of the diseases that we have now in the past. We've had more invasive research and all this stuff. We obviously know more. That being said, there's also skewed data.
Right.
Infant mortality is a huge reason that lifespans were much lower back in the day. So the infants that did live past infanthood were very likely to live long and vital and very high quality lives.
Right.
The other thing is this: if we can take a step back and not neglect entirely the modern advantages of the world that we live in today, and find a synergy and a harmony of the tenets and the lifestyle that these people lived for so long before humans just decided to like switch everything up.
Right.
I think that's like the most optimal existence in today's world. 100%. If that makes sense. Like just finding a balance between the two, not saying no to all, like not being like one of those dudes who goes and lives in a log cabin with nobody and whatever.
Yeah.
But taking advantage of the modern society, taking advantage of the modern freedoms and the modern technology. Yeah. But not getting lost in them. And to quote somebody I don't know, I like quotes. Yeah. I'm that guy talking about this thing.
Bangers.
Basically, he was talking about how when we take those steps, I'm trying to remember what the quote was. Dang it! It was actually a Carnivore Aurelius quote, I think, to not bring him up, but just the modern society. We just need to be able to find that balance. I'm forgetting the quote, but we just need to be able to find that balance.
Yeah, 100%. Because where we're at now, right, in our society, like we're so advanced, but you look around you and it's just a bunch of creatures. You know, like, I mean, bless everyone, but like we are not living the quality of life that we should be living.
I remember the quote. It's use technology, don't be used by it. And the difference is intentionality.
Right.
So if we're intentional about the use of these modern advancements, then it'll be a lot more optimal.
And where we're at currently, it's like, you know, we're trying to provide for too many people, right? With the industrial farming, industrial everything, when everything should be on a smaller scale. That's how people are going to remain healthy. That's how you don't have to ship meat from Brazil. Yeah. You know, like, it's just crazy because, once again, we don't know what we don't know, right? And on this journey, it was like, you know, I didn't know to just reach out to a local farmer that was like, hey, you doing cattle? He's like, yeah, I'm doing cattle. I'll put in your deposit for half a cow. And you're like, how much half a cow costs? He's like, you know, $1,300 to $1,500 depending on weight. And you're like, it's that easy? He's like, yeah, let me show you a sheet.
Let me show you what I feed it. Let me show you.
Like, right. And you just ask him, you're like, are you vaccinating? No. Are you doing that? No. No hormones. You know, all this stuff. And it's like we just need to be talking to each other. Yeah. You know, back to how we met.
And the live a parent.
And the live a parent thing. It's like, dude, like we just need to be talking to each other, being genuine with each other, and like stop inflating all the extra bullshit. Yeah. Like none of this stuff matters.
Stop talking about sports and talk about fat.
Talk about no fat, dude. Facts.
But that's exactly what you're talking about.
Exactly. And it's like in your circle of your circle of friends, you shouldn't be gossiping. You should be talking about like, oh, hey, here's what I started doing to like feel better. Yeah. You know, like, oh damn, dude, like I wake up and I feel like shit every day, but like here's what I've been doing. Yeah. You know, so like those are the conversations you want to have. Those are the people you want to have around you. And it's like it's not some like secret elite group. It's just dudes doing
they want to get better.
Yes.
And I asked the doctor that I interviewed last week what's like the number one step to becoming healthier.
Right.
And like almost without hesitating, he goes, you have to choose to take responsibility for your health. And so he brings up the point that some people, frankly, don't want to choose. And that is their prerogative. Right. In that lack of choice is their choice.
Yeah.
That's not who I am.
Yeah.
That's not who I'm going to surround myself with. But once you get in a group like this conversation we're having now, I'm blessed to have a brother and a family that's interested in this stuff too. And maybe it's not coincidence that most of my friends are also into this stuff.
Right.
But once you get in that little group and you can start bouncing stuff off, like, hey, man, I tried this with my thyroid and it worked really well.
Wild.
I tried this supplement, it worked really well. And then you can start, I tried this workout. Like, I did your workout today. I'm probably going to do it again.
Nice.
But it's that positive feedback and negative feedback loop. But it's learning off each other. So I don't know what y'all's intention with Live a Parent is. First off, I love the play on words. It's live a parent, but in a parent is the word parent.
Right.
So there's some ton of cool things y'all could do with that.
Yes,
and just
absolutely.
sharing tips and tricks and stuff. That's
right.
So I don't want to say tricks. Actually, I want to say something.
Just just it would be like, oh, here's an alternative to whatever. Yeah. You know? And I want to like keep it away from like highlighting the negative stigmas of everything, because like if you don't know already, like everything's poisoned, you know, like sick, you know, are you gonna die tomorrow? Probably not. But
Yeah.
if you've got people you care about, and if you care about yourself, you know, like just you have the choice now, you know, be grateful that you have the choice and start taking action. Like there's, like your doctor said, dude, like it's all about accountability.
Yep.
You know, it's like, who doesn't want to be accountable and responsible for their well-being? It's wild. It's
a lot of people, frankly.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me. And it's like, I mean, you see it with friends. You know, I've got this issue. Woe is me. This sucks. And it's like, oh, we had that issue too. Like, but we did this.
That's awesome.
And then they're just like, nah, I'm good. You're like, bro, okay.
Why?
You know, and then we're just like, okay, move along.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, but then other people are like, oh, wow, I saw that you guys did this. Where did you get it? And it's like, oh, it's right here. And it's like, oh, it's that easy. It's like, yeah.
It's that easy.
It's that easy.
You just have to know.
You just
I
have
don't know
to
about
know.
you. I mean, you have I love like the content that y'all put out. I think it'd be cool, not to like impose on your business, but like some sort of community, like where you can say, hey, look, come join this group. Like we are all parents that are this age or at this stage, and we're trying to do we're trying to do it better.
Right.
Frankly, we're trying to be sovereign over our lifestyle choices and our sons and our daughters' lifestyle choices.
Yes.
And you guys could have a really cool community. I don't know about you. When somebody texts me or DMs me about something that I posted about and talks about implementing it and the quality of their life increasing due to that, that's what has sort of flipped my script on social media. Yeah. Because in the past, I've been like, well, is it even really worth it to post this? Is it like me trying to, like some ego complex that I'm not really aware of? Right. But then you see one of your buddies text you, say, hey, man, I tried this. Holy cow, dude. Like, I feel so much better. You're like, okay, maybe there is benefit to it. Yeah. I don't know if you...
no, 100%, dude. Because it was like, I think the only reason we're really pushing to do this is because so many parents are like, oh, I see you guys do this differently. You know, and I'm like, yeah, like, so instead of like responding individually, which we still love to do, because it kind of, not inflating our ego or anything, but like it got a lot. Like there's a lot of people out there who are, you know, willing to change. Sure. So it's like, but once again, it's like the consistency with posting. Yeah. And there's a little backstory on like Instagram. Like there was a time where I don't want to just loosely use the term like addictive personality, but like Instagram hooked me. You know, so I was wasting 30 minutes on the toilet just scrolling. Yeah. And I was like, I'm not running a business, I'm not doing anything, so I just need to delete it. Yeah. And I deleted it for like a week at first, and then it went to, you know, to a month, and then 2 months, and I was just off of it for a while, and I was like, I've got no little voices, no little interjections from anybody else, and I'm truly like happy living my life. And it's like, Instagram's still good, you know, because like you can push a message as long as you're using it for a purpose, as a tool for something to build like a broader community. Because I personally only talk to like, you know, what, 3-4 friends per week or something, you know. So it's like if you could reach more people, that's great. Even if it helps two people, whatever. If it helps you go get a reverse osmosis filter, or helps you throw out your non-stick pans, and it's something that wasn't on your radar yet, and you're like, you know, even if you don't reach out and like, oh, I changed this, even if you just did it, you're like, oh shit, that's dope. And these are regular people doing it to better their lives. Absolutely. You know, like there's no hidden agenda. There's nothing. It's like, here's what we did, and here's us doing things, you know?
I think that's awesome. Yeah. I think it's funny the arc that you went on. I went on. I had an Instagram page that like was more personal, just like I would post like random like esoteric type stuff about like health. Yeah. And I found myself doing the same thing. But that goes back to the intentionality. Like I was being used by it instead of using it. Perfect. And and I did the exact same thing. I deleted my account, and you have to wait like 30 days for it to actually delete. So I'm like that. I'm just going to delete it and see what happens. Yeah. I deleted it. I'm like, my life is no different. Right. I'm completely fine.
So it's like with alcohol. Yeah. Right. So I stopped drinking. I don't have a date because it wasn't like a huge celebration for me. It was just like, I'm just done drinking. You know, like I wasn't trying to attach any like emotional thing to it or nothing. It was just like, it just got no value for me. You know, I kind of enjoyed it a little bit too much with my buddies, and I would stay up till like 8 a.m. Oh, what's next? I was at what's next, dude, you know, and it's like, that's just not where I want to be anymore. It doesn't provide value to my family, right?
Yeah.
So I just want to be present every morning, don't want to have a hangover. So I stopped. And I think, so what led me down that was like, my buddy did, was it the 75 Hard?
Yeah.
You heard of that one? Yeah, he did that, and we were having a dinner one time, and he's over, he brought the damn Topo Chicos, the damn sparkling waters. And he's like, oh, I'm not drinking. I'm like, oh, what are you doing? He's like, oh, 75 Hard. He shows it to me. Oh, shout out Chris, by the way.
Yeah.
He
right
shows
on,
it to
dude.
me.
I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah, he shows it to me, and he's just like, what is it, like 2 workouts a day, 1 outside, drink water.
No, like read
10 pages, like don't drink alcohol. And I was like, that's sick. I feel like, I'm already living that life. I just need to cut out the alcohol.
Yeah.
And then I just stopped drinking. And like you said, like it don't really change your life.
Yeah.
Like it's not profound. It's just, I never feel like shit ever again like that. I'm not
You don't
intentionally
poison
yourself. Yeah. And I just, like, there's a culture behind alcohol, right? Like, dude, I've got coworkers that say like, oh, I've got, this $200 bottle of rum. And it's like, rum? It's like, why?
Here, go buy a
Like,
filter.
that's cool.
Go buy a red light.
Yeah. You know what's good? Water, bro. Water's dope.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And I just don't get it, because again, probably an intentional thing that society pushes, right? The worst drug that you can possibly do for yourself besides pills would be alcohol.
Yeah.
Devastating amounts of,
Your
alcohol-related
gut
incidents.
gets destroyed.
You're literally poisoning yourself, and we're just openly making it cool.
Yeah.
Constantly going out to the bar, spending hundreds of dollars.
Yeah.
And it's like there was one time that I was kind of like, what am I doing? Like you start to like stare at people and like listen to their conversation a little bit, and you're just like, oh, they're gossiping.
Yeah.
They're talking shit about someone's husband. They're talking about sports, and you're just like,
This is nothing.
like, guys, and it was like a slow progression. I was like, guys, like, how about we just drink at the house?
Mm-hmm. Instead of paying for Uber, instead of paying for bar, like all that stuff.
Instead of worrying about random people trying to fight you, and it's like, let's go drink at home.
Yeah.
Have a chill night or whatever, or do something else. I don't know.
Go sit by a fire.
Yeah, and it's just crazy, and it's like most of my friends don't drink.
Yeah.
So, and it's not
Perhaps not a coincidence.
Yeah, right. And we just, you start to hang out with somebody, and I'm not like pretentious about it. Like when you come over to the house, if you bring beer, drink your beer.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna, be Bible thumping like,
no.
blah blah blah. Like,
I don't think that's a good way to live. Personally.
I don't learn that way. I don't learn by arrogant people telling me what to do. I'm just like, oh, that's dope. And like, how are you feeling? You feel great? No hangovers?
Yeah.
Sounds like a good solution to me.
Yeah.
So
your actions speak so loud that I can't hear what you say.
Exactly.
The old adage.
Oh, well, yeah, that's a good one.
Think about it. Like, I don't know why, frankly, but a little bit on my story of alcohol. I didn't drink till I was 20 years old, which, like, I went through all of high school.
Yeah.
Freshman, sophomore year of college.
That's wild.
And I frankly, I couldn't tell you why. Like, my parents both drank. My older brother drank at the house.
Mm-hmm.
Like, completely social. I would go to parties. Perhaps it was my girlfriend at the time also didn't drink, but I didn't drink before I started.
Yeah.
I literally don't know why. I just think, like, God put on my heart to not drink. I saw it do some things to some people that I loved, not even in my family,
right.
But like just people that I knew. I'm like, I don't really like that. I like to be in control of myself.
Right.
And so I drank in college after literally the last week of my sophomore year. Drank.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I still drink very irregularly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think it's more of an accent. It needs to be the accent, not the focus. So
right.
People will literally make their plans around going to get fucked up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, that will be the number one criteria. It's like, okay, well, which bar can we, let's see, let's see where we can go to get blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, if I'm at a restaurant with my family and they like, when I go on this trip to Europe, I'll be drinking red wine.
Yeah.
Because guess what? I'm going to be at a coastal town with my boys, eating steak. I'm going to have some red wine.
And they make the best wine.
And that's an accent.
Right.
I'm not going to go to a club in a Ibiza and like try to get literally as fucked up as I can. Right. So it's an accent. And I think that that's the best way to go about it. And in turn, I just want to make this comment about sort of deleting social media or like removing yourself from certain scenarios and then realizing, holy crap, I don't even need it. I have a buddy who went to Costa Rica on like a 10-day vacation with his family.
Yeah.
He lived in Boston. He left his phone in Boston on purpose.
Nice.
For a 10-day trip in Costa Rica, I'm like, dude, I don't envy you, but I admire the shit out of what you did. That's a hard thing to do for the vast majority of people in the world.
Yeah.
He comes back, he's like on the airplane back or whatever, and he's like, oh, dude, I can't wait, I'm going to get And he said it was kind of a funny little ego check, because he gets back and he has like 3 texts.
He's expecting, it's like, I
like,
was greatly missed.
Yeah, no, and it's like, wait a second, dude, the world still spins if I don't have Instagram. The world still
100%.
spins if I don't have Twitter. If I don't watch YouTube videos every day, the world still spins. If I don't go drinking every weekend, the world still spins. My friends will still
be your friends.
Yeah. If they're not, then good, they're not your friends anyways.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? It's like stepping back. A lot of the times it's like an ego check. You realize that the stuff that you got going on maybe isn't that important.
It's not, dude. And it's like when you no longer seek validation of others, you understand what you truly are doing for yourself.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I don't have to show you guys, you know, that I got this or I'm not doing that. It's like, cool.
I feel good.
I'm doing it, you know?
But that's also how it starts with your friends and the people you're talking about with Live a Parent, where they're reaching out like, so you guys didn't tell me to do this, but like you mentioned something on your Instagram story that you guys do this.
Yeah.
What's that about? And it made you feel this way?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll look into it.
Yeah.
With alcohol, it's the same. Wait, so you haven't drank in how long?
Yeah.
Or your friend, hey, you haven't masturbated in how long? Wait, why'd you stop doing that? Seriously, why'd you stop doing that?
Right.
Pussy.
Because it is always that. It's like, I'm a man. I'm gonna do it.
Dude, you have take a step back and think about what you're doing.
Dude, I mean, there are so many benefits, right? Like just feeling better, clearer mind, not feeling like a cuck, tea, like getting stronger in the gym. Like it's just so much stuff, dude.
Talking about the birth, bring that back to bringing a human being into the world. That's the woman's capacity in that regard, because obviously it's a two-way street. The woman's capacity is the ability to foster that environment and bring forth that life. Literally a new human being into the world.
Dude. Ridiculous.
The man's is our sperm.
Yeah.
And the thought of, and I'm not like on a soapbox either. Like that's still an active struggle for me is porn and lust and dealing with that, just given the ease of access and all this stuff. But our literal life force, like our ability to create another life, is our sperm.
Yeah.
And dudes are literally like throwing that away several times a day sometimes.
Wasting it in a sock, dude.
And a sock, bro. Dude, when I think about that, it just makes me sick.
It's bad. It's bad. Like if there was one thing, so I did have a friend reach out. It's like, dude, I'm in the dumps, feel terrible. Mm-hmm. What do I need to do? Like stop masturbating.
That was the first thing. That was
stop beating it.
Yeah.
Or how many times are you beating it? He's like 3 to 4 times a day. Like, dude, there's your problem.
Yeah. That's instance number 1.
Yeah.
Not to change the subject too much, that just brought this thought to my head about a friend was mentioning somebody that they know that has a couple like health issues, I guess, and like ADHD and stuff like that, and talking about, is pharmacological intervention okay sometimes? I'm like, I mean, yeah, dude, in certain situations maybe it's the best route, but like that's not my first question. Is that guy fat? He's like, oh yeah, 100%. And I'm like, there you go.
Yeah.
Not to like, it's not such a wide brush, but there are principles. Mm-hmm. Like the first thing you tell somebody is not, I'm feeling down. Okay, go get an SSRI. No, it's, what are you doing? Like, how are you living your life? What are your behaviors?
Yeah.
Are you beating off? Are you fat? Are you eating whole foods?
Getting sun.
Are you getting sun? Are you working out?
Yep.
And then if you do everything that you possibly can, maybe go look at it. But there's so many different behaviors and stuff that you could tap into first.
Right. And everything, I mean, what do they say? They say everything that we need to heal is already here on this earth.
That's awesome.
You know?
Yeah.
So to hit on holistic medicine, like they've been, like indigenous cultures, they've been practicing like, you know, natural healing for so long. Like some of the Chinese cultures, they still do it.
Yeah.
And it's like that.
Eastern medicine is another word I've heard.
Herbs, dude. Yeah. Herbs are crazy. Herbs are ridiculous. And
fasting too.
Yeah, fasting's amazing. And it's kind of like you just got to start breaking down your day-to-day process. And if you're not even thinking about, like, you're not conscious about what you're doing, like there's your problem too. You know, like you just need to be conscious that, okay, so why do I feel tired right after breakfast? You know, why do you need to eat right after, right when you wake up? It's crazy. You haven't done anything. You slept. You didn't do anything. You know, so Yeah, we do wait, we fast, and it almost feels natural.
It is natural.
It is,
It's
right?
what you're, yeah.
Yeah, you
There's
just
so many rabbit holes.
dude. And it's like, so back to parenthood. It's like you think about a kid, and then back to questioning like the baby market. It's like, why is there baby food? Aren't they just little humans that can eat? So our son's been eating steak since 4 months, steaks and avocados.
He's gonna be a savage.
Ridiculous. And
It fires me up.
yeah,
dude.
and so like there are parents out there that are like, oh, I can't let my kids eat grapes because they'll choke on it. It's like, well, how do they learn how to not choke on food? You know, so it's all like, it's all simple thinking. It's like you don't have to overthink parenthood at all because you're just like, what is this? It's not like a dog that you have to like, you know, do different things for it. It's a you, you know,
it's
like
literally a little you.
and then it helps you like, okay, so what are the things that I'm not already doing for myself that I need to start doing for this little human?
It's like a proxy for you almost.
It is,
It's
dude.
like a mirror. It's like, wait a second, I'm telling this kid to not. Okay, well, what am I doing? That's a great point.
And it's self-correcting. Your son starts to do crazy stuff. You're like, did I teach him that? And am I allowing it?
Wow.
You know?
That's
Right.
Is
And
he mirroring something that
exactly. And there are things that he does that I'm like, all right, you know, just don't do that in public. It's wild.
Yeah.
But yeah, back to the, where was I at?
Parenthood.
Okay.
Child. Sorry, I interrupted. I have a tendency to do that.
No, that's
parenthood.
good.
Child. Eating steak and avocado.
Eating steaks and avocados, right? Back to the choking thing. It's like, here's another thing, right? It's something that's been used forever, right? Introducing solid foods to your child at an early age instead of doing like the Gerber foods.
Yep.
Right. It's called baby-led weaning. So the weaning portion is just weaning off breastfeeding a little bit, right? So you start to introduce solid food when they reach for it, when their interest is peaked. So the only thing you need to do is cut it up differently. At every stage, you're supposed to cut it up differently so you minimize the choking risk and choking hazard. Right? Kids can choke on anything. You know, my friend's kid swallowed batteries one time.
Holy cow.
Yeah, and I was like, how does that feel as a parent? Like, what do? You know, like, are you expecting him to blow up? Like, are you trying to detonate? Like, it's crazy, right? So they're going to eat anything anyway, so you might as well prepare them in the best way possible.
Sure.
You know, and then you start to... Sorry, I'm all over the place, but like you start to...
it's the rabbit hole.
Yeah, you start to think about like, okay, so why do people say raising a child is so expensive? And then it's, you know, they point you to formula, they point you to disposable diapers, they point you to
medicines
baby
and
food and medicines, and you're like, we didn't do any of that. And I'm like, you know, our bills aren't that much. I mean, he eats a lot of steak now, but that's great. That's just providing more food that we're already eating for him. We don't even cook separately.
Yeah, which
never
is
did.
Freaking awesome.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
That's so cool.
Treat your kids like little humans that they are, not some creature that is foreign. Yeah, you know what I mean?
It all comes back to the question that sparked this all for you, which I think is so cool that you can point. Why is there baby products?
Why?
That's therein lies, like, if there's one lesson that I think I want to take from this conversation is that, like, therein lies the lesson. Why is well, first off, to question things, and then second, like, okay, well, why is there actually baby products? Right. Are they not just smaller me's? Yeah. And why can my body take it and not theirs? Yep. Et cetera, et cetera. The steak thing is awesome. I think it's
just the easiest mind shift change that you can have, man, like questioning things. And even on like the more like nuanced things like baby bags, diaper bags. Yeah. What the fuck are those for? Yeah. Like, dude, go get a backpack that fits, because who's wearing
a leather satchel?
Bro, who's wearing the bag? Not the baby. Yeah. You are. Why are they so small? Yeah. You start to fill these bags and you're like, what the hell is this, dude? And I look like a freaking like an ape carrying a little like hobo sack. Yeah. And it's like there's a diaper in there and it's full.
Luxury becomes necessity. So what I would assume happened is some baby product company was like, oh, I have a way we can make money doing this.
Small bags.
And then guess what? People see, wait, you carry your diapers in there? I guess I need to do that. Yeah. So on and so forth until somebody's weird and goes, you don't need that shit. And then
you don't.
Here's a little practical, not practical, but maybe like data-driven perspective on eating hard foods. Yeah. Human facial structures, especially in the Western world. Yep. Read Breath by James Nestor if you haven't. It's a phenomenal book. Yes. Phenomenal. Yep. Our facial structures are getting narrower and jawline's getting less protruded. Yep. What that does is interferes with our airways, allows us to not breathe that's why sleep apnea and snoring and all these crazy breathing things that are, I mean, breathing is literally the most fundamental thing we need to live.
100%.
You can go weeks without food, days
Yeah.
without water. You can go a minute without air. So think about it.
Yeah.
So breathing properly and all that stuff. When are our bones most, our bones and our physiological structures most impressionable and most formable? Like when
From the start.
when they're babies.
Yeah.
So your son is going to be
A monster, dude.
building his jawline straight up, like
Yeah.
building his jawline. Because guess what doesn't happen when you, the reason that's important is your jawline. The more protruded it is, more airway, the more space it is with the airway, which is very important.
Yeah.
Also, you look better. Also, it's just
Yeah.
if you look at like the facial structures of people in the past compared to the skeletons now, it's freaking wild.
It's ridiculous.
And then
dude.
it correlates to when processed food and like non-chewable foods were were introduced, and your son's gonna have that from the very start.
Right.
Not only is he gonna have a freaking elite jawline,
Yeah.
he's gonna have an elite airway.
Yeah.
And all that stuff.
He probably won't be sucking in air like we were earlier.
Yeah, I admit, yeah, it's
Yeah.
hard. Dude, this workout's hard enough where I can't even nasal breathe.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Yeah,
But
that's the point. That's the point.
You
though.
realize too, after that book, I'd love to hear your perspective on it, but you realize how many people mouth breathe.
Oh, dude.
People literally just.
Yeah. It's crazy. I think she's got smoothies.
Oh, right on. I got a couple more questions if you got time.
Yeah, yeah. Let's do it.
I want to kind of talk about the actual physical space that y'all have created in terms of, you guys have bees, right?
Yeah.
You have like a more of a wild flower, intentionally wild, like backyard instead of sod or whatever.
Right, right.
Like the bees and
Oh,
stuff like
dude.
that. Like how did that come about? Because bees are interesting to me. I like that.
Yeah,
idea.
we were
Honeybees.
looking for like a concert or something on Eventbrite. Mm-hmm. You heard of it, like Ticketmaster type deal? Mm-mm. So it's just where you buy like concert tickets or whatever. And we saw this beekeeping class, which was just down the road from us at Sweetwater Farms.
Okay.
Yeah. And we were like, why don't we just do this beekeeping class instead of going to a concert? So we went, and the guy, we didn't really know anything, dude. We just show up. We show up, and people's got questions like, oh, what do you do with the propolis? What do you do with the wax? Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I got to do a lot of research after this, but great information. The guy's super dope.
Where are they?
They're the beehive's in the right corner.
Oh,
we'll go walk over there afterwards. Yeah, but the guy, I was like, so how do we? My only question was, how do we get bees? Where can I start? And he's like,
Amazon.
well, no, he saves bees, he captures bees,
Cool.
and then he grows them. So there are a few ways you can get them. You can get them as a pack. A pack's just like like a few hundred bees or something like that, and they might have a queen in a clip that they haven't like accepted yet.
Yeah.
But it's that's our other cat. It's like pretty cut and dry where they do accept the queen once they're like established as a colony.
Yeah.
And then what we did, the route we took was a nuke colony where you get 5 frames already built out. They've got honey, wax.
Oh wow, that's
cool.
cool.
Yeah, so they got their shit squared away. There's a queen already in it.
Yeah.
And you just put it into a hive that has 2 additional frames that they need to work on.
Yeah.
Right? And then once they've worked on all of the bottom frames, which is considered the brood.
Yeah.
And that's where they lay all the babies, make all the workers, and all that stuff. That's not the honey you eat.
Yeah.
Right? So you attach a honey super. And the honey super is where you have all the frames, and once they're done building the brood frames and they're established and healthy, they'll go up to the honey super and start making honey for you.
That's cool.
Yeah, and there's like a queen excluder, so the queen doesn't go up into the honey to like lay eggs in it.
How did it feel? Like this might be a weird question, but how did it feel eating your first like homemade jar like honey with your family?
So we haven't yet.
Oh, you haven't?
Yeah.
Oh,
no.
that's gonna be exciting.
It's gonna be very exciting.
I'm stoked for y'all.
Yeah, doing the bee inspections, just having them around it's just opened up a new world, because like I'll sit over there in the mornings, like after I drop off compost into our bin right there, and like they're fascinating.
Yeah.
Like they're doing things, you know, and it's like you grow a respect for these little animals that are so like they're so important to our ecosystem. And it's like, why are we putting sod yards in when bees don't like sod?
Yeah.
Like I don't even like, my neighbor has an amazing lawn. When we first moved in, I was like, I want my lawn to look like that. And then you start to grow, and you're like, all right, that's
some wildflowers.
That's a dead lawn. Yeah. So what we did,
it's a dead ecosystem, frankly.
Right. Yeah. I tilled the entire backyard, and then we started throwing down clovers and native wildflowers, and so there's
You got the sunflowers over there too that are
right
taller than the fence. Which
those are wild, dude. And like we started to propagate them to like build another natural fence.
That's cool.
And we've got sunflowers growing within the backyard too. And it's like, people might think they're weeds, but they're legit flowers that we uprooted, gave one to her mom for her birthday, and it's like we could have gone to the store and paid like $15 for this, but
you didn't.
We didn't. Yeah. So
that's awesome.
It is just beautiful, and like we'll go out there, hopefully some bees are out there, but like once you introduce one bee colony, you start to see so many different species of bees.
That's cool.
Yeah, so there are gigantic bumblebees that come around, and they'll like bend the flower stems because they're so big.
Holy cow.
There are little green bees that burrow in the ground, and they get pretty angry when you step around. But like I've only been stung twice, and that's just
occupational hazard.
Right. I was fucking around for too long over there, and it's like they'll give you about 10 minutes of being chill, and then afterwards, they'll send the guards out to be like, all right, get the fuck away from here,
Which is cool. Like even in that, just the way they operate is very cool. I don't know much about them, but they're fascinating creatures.
Dude, once you learn more and more, like there was a study actually that like beekeepers have the longest lifespan. Wow. And they're saying that the frequency that they resonate at, like the way their wings flap, it's
longevity
healing.
Hack.
It's healing, dude.
Dude, that's wild.
It's crazy.
Do you know what hertz it is, or like what?
I forgot which one it was.
Somebody could look it up. It's Jamie looked that up.
Yeah, Ryu, go look it up. He's typing away. But yeah, it's crazy, and they were doing something about how it heals like PTSD and depression too.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't see. That's the thing. Like I don't doubt the efficacy of that stuff anymore.
Right.
Like somebody might hear that and be like, that's whack. No, what's whack is taking a drug that is made in a manufacturing plant.
How about you try it?
Yeah.
Did you try it yet?
Have you kept bees?
Yeah.
When are y'all expecting to be able to harvest some of that honey, man?
We think by the end of the year.
Dude, that's so cool.
Yeah.
You can get little jars. Dude, that's awesome.
The only thing that prevented it from going as fast as it should have been was I put on the super a little bit too early.
Okay.
So I was impatient, and I threw the super on, and I was like, okay, why aren't there many bees up here? It was because they were still building out one of the frames.
Yeah.
So I gave them too much work before they were ready for it.
Yeah. Learning experience.
Right. And it's all great. It's like, it's not the end of the world. It's just going to take a little bit longer now. So, yeah.
And then this sort of ties in, and it might be a good place to wrap up, but you guys have plans to get land.
Yeah.
And live with the land with your family. What I want to start by asking, what's the reason for that? Like, why? Because neither of you guys grew up in that environment.
No.
Neither of you guys, you currently don't live in that environment. So I'm just curious as to why that's the case.
It's accountability driven, right? It's like I said earlier, I don't want to be a victim to what's next. I don't want to be complaining about the food prices going up, and I don't want to complain about the quality. So I want to take matters into my own hand and actually build and create beauty, right? Like just complement the land and just give back, because we're not going to change the world,
Those Hawaiian roots.
Right. Yeah, we're not going to change the world, but you can create a space for you and your family. And like, there's oftentimes the thought in society, it's like, why would I bring a kid into this world when it's already collapsing?
Yeah.
It's like, well, with that mindset, correct.
Exactly.
Or you can go out and try to preserve and create something, because if you live the rest of your life thinking that it's going to end, it is going to end, but it's just going to end
dark
for you quicker,
It's it's such a nihilistic, and Jordan Peterson touches on this.
Right.
I don't know. Have you read that book, 12 Rules of Life?
Have.
Dude, he touches on it in such an articulate way.
Yeah.
In terms of, like, just the nihilism that too much chaos comes from, or that comes with too much chaos, and then the tyranny that comes with too much order and the balance and all that stuff. But that nihilistic view is there's people that think it's like they're standing on moral high ground by not having kids, and I'm like, what a horribly morbid way to live life.
Right.
Like, we literally, our primary physiological prerogative, imperative, is to procreate. It's like, to try to flip it that's actually a moral, like, you're morally unjust or whatever, is like, that's that's crazy to me, and I agree with you completely. You guys
Right.
can create that life for your family. You can create that beauty.
Yeah.
Live with the land, and I mean, I think that's awesome. You guys got like plans to do cattle and chicken and stuff like that?
Yeah, I want to go full scale regenerative agriculture.
Dude.
Yeah, and it's going to be a learning process, but like once again, risks, right?
Yeah.
Like what's going to be the most fulfilling thing to you? Like,
Yeah.
you know, waking up every day, understanding that your family's got food to eat, because what really matters, you know, not chasing another corporate job, not making more and more money, because at a certain point, it's like it just corrupts you.
Yeah.
You know, we see it all the time. And you think that, you know, you need to make more, but just create.
Yeah.
You know, like one of your posts, dude, it was
Oh, yeah.
creation over consumption, right? And it's like, dude, that speaks volumes, you know, because we're such a hyper consumptive society, and it's like we just need to start doing things for ourselves, you
And
know,
creating,
right?
and like the lifestyle even.
Right, and like
about.
COVID should have been a eye-opening experience for a lot of people when you don't have access to things that you typically have access to, and it was like the greatest litmus test for a lot of people. It was like we're just born into this era of hyper convenience, you know, and it's like we don't know how to do anything.
Yep.
You know, once you tell yourself that and humble yourself that like you kind of got no skills.
Yeah.
You know,
You're not
that,
competent.
Right. And that was me. I woke up one day and I was like, all right, you know, I'm providing for my family like on a monetary value scale, but like I'm not Bob the Builder, you know, like I'm not like building all, I'm not a woodworker or anything like that. I'm like, what skills do you actually have? You know, and this is another thing when you think about like your military experience, it's like what I did was made up. It doesn't exist in the real world. Yeah. You know, like it does exist, but
it's hard to transmute those skills into like outside of that job.
Exactly. So it's like how do I truly be present and provide for my family? And it does start with like security and then food security.
Sure.
You know, so.
And the thing about the COVID litmus test is like a lot of people failed.
Yeah, dude.
Like a lot of people. I was 21 years old. I turned 21 like that, and I'm like, I don't know why, but even for me, I'm like, wait a second, like, dude, people are not going to they can go to the grocery store and not get food, and this is the funniest thing too.
Yeah.
So the Kroger in Blacksburg, Virginia, Gucci Kroger, they had a sign that said 2 pounds of ground beef or 2 pounds of meat per person.
Here are your rations.
Good luck, bro. I bought every single thing I could possibly buy. Ground beef. I showed it to the counter.
Yeah.
They didn't say a word. What are they going to do? Tell me, like, okay, I'm buying the damn meat, and you're not going to tell me. So I think that's like, talk about litmus test.
Yeah.
You think you're going to be able to tell me that I can go in this store, and because you tell me I can't buy as much, like, and people would chalk it up as like compassion for your neighbor.
Nah, dude.
I don't know, man. That was just a weird thing for me that they try to tell me I could only buy 2 pounds of meat. I'm like, that's a day's meal for me.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, that's eye-opening.
And also, nobody said anything, so it's kind of a little lesson in terms of
rules
testing.
are for dumb people. Like rules are literally for, once again, the lowest common denominators in society, the people that need it.
Yeah.
You know, once you start to develop and grow a little bit more, you understand that like you can probably break all these rules.
And that's not to like cast a negative light on these people. Everybody can, but like you can become just become a little bit more aware, become a little bit more competent, become a little bit more rise through the dominance hierarchy that exists, whether you admit it or not. Start to rise a little bit, and then you understand. You're like, okay, is this fat lady that works the cash register at Kroger going to tell me to put this meat away? No, not going to happen. If she does, I'll go to another Kroger.
Right, and you know what? You setting that example, people will probably follow. Like, shit, I need to feed my family too. 2 pounds is not going to cut it. You know. So
well, you're taking it into like. I've mentioned it already, but like I admire that so much because, and I think this is part of one of the reasons I was instantly like, okay, wait, this guy's tapped in because that's me and my brother quite literally on a weekly basis talk about getting a family compound where we can provide for ourselves and our families, where we can interact in a community, like legitimately, like I'm talking like tribal shit.
Yeah.
Like
100%.
And you took that as like, okay, look, I have a family. I need to be able to go to the grocery store or my backyard and feed my family. Like, you're not going to be able to tell me that I can or can't feed my family what I'm going to feed them. So I think that's freaking awesome, dude.
And I'm not leaving it, you know, not leaving it up for discussion for anybody else. No one's gonna tell me, you know, like,
Yeah,
even if like shit were to happen right now, like, yeah, I got a freezer full of beef.
exactly.
Cool.
You're chilling.
Yeah,
That's
cool.
That's part of the reason of like hunting and stuff. Like my dad's in a similar boat. My ideal
Uh-huh.
is to have a freezer of wild game, if not 2 freezers.
Yeah.
And then also cattle on my property that I have
Right.
as. Also, the cattle thing I think is one of like a community thing. I think the
Yes.
ability to. If anybody's listening and thinking about getting me gifts, give me high quality meat,
Hey.
or give me like a hunting trip, like something.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
one of the best gifts I ever got was from my uncle. He killed a 6x6 elk with his bow,
Damn.
with his crossbow in New Mexico, and he sent some backstrap back. And I'm like, I tried to take a step back and think about it in like ancestral terms.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Like that would have been a serious. We talked about sharing earlier,
Right.
Like somebody went out, expended a ton of caloric energy,
Yeah.
risked their lives hunting for the tribe, to come back and be like, hey man, here's some of this most pristine meat.
Right.
That's the gifts that I want.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to give those as well.
Right, dude. And that's where we're at. We know we can't do it alone.
Yeah.
You know, and you would be a fool to think that you can just go off and start something, you know.
Yeah.
But like we plan on doing it with 2 other families who are like-minded, dude.
Dude,
It's
that's
like,
freaking awesome, man.
yeah, so we're trying our best. We're inching towards this goal.
Yeah.
We're gonna make it happen because we all got people that are depending on us.
Like this little guy.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of Tucker Max by chance?
No, I don't think so.
You should look into him. He's a author actually who got famous and wealthy by like writing books about partying and all this crazy stuff.
Yeah.
And then he kind of had this epiphany. He was living in a really nice neighborhood in Austin, and he had this epiphany where he's like, "Wait a second, like I'm not safe here. Like I don't have
No.
like I live in this nice. I could get shot on a walk. I could get like
Yeah.
robbed on a walk. I could get my house broken into. I could have food shortage. Blah blah blah.
Right.
So he did the same thing. Him and several people that were like-minded in similar situations from a family standpoint. They went and bought land outside of Austin. They have a community. They have their own school. That
Yeah.
they choose what curriculum their children are taught. All this stuff. They have
Yeah.
like this community, and I'm like, what a cool way to live.
Right.
And your story is, it's possible.
Yeah, you just got to talk to people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You just got to honestly set the example. Like let people know that the way they're living, you still have the choice to do what you want to. You know, but life's good over here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Come join the party.
right. Yeah.
Well, man, I think that's a good place to wrap up. This has been longest episode yet, so that's pretty cool.
Hey, didn't feel like it. So.
Yeah, I know. I want to say again, I really appreciate your service. You talking about the freedoms that we have to choose. It's because of men and women like you. So I appreciate that. I speak to every listener that they also appreciate it. I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you for opening your home to me in your gym this morning, and then also
Right.
for answering that initial doorbell, man, because I can see this being a really cool relationship.
Definitely. Hey, I wish you well on your journeys, man, and
Appreciate it.
have fun in Europe, dude.
Right. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
All right.
Crush
Thank
it.
you, brother. Appreciate it.